Locally, my clients are physicians, nurses, single moms, couples, multiple generations of families, seniors on fixed incomes, disabled, veterans, residents of assisted living facilities, and teachers at the local elementary, middle, and high schools. Most are dealing with serious issues other than their smoking habit, further degrading their quality of life and their ability to quit smoking. From 18 to 96 years old with an average age of over 40, nearly all referrals by other successful clients. Most have smoked for decades, the result of the 93% failure rate that they've been stuck with. They don't believe you and don't trust you with damn good reason. You will never reach these people. They know you don't care and they despise you for it. I greet them in a t-shirt, this one with Kevin Crowley on it, and blue jeans, and a nicotine molecule tattooed on my forearm.
Well, hola, ¿cómo está? How are you? And welcome. We are back. I just had a bad week last week, and I just really didn't feel like sitting in front of the computer for 4 hours. So I took and I had a steak and a beer, and I decompressed last week. So we're back. Kevin is actually here. So back to normal. Except we're going to have a conversation at the beginning of the show that may upset some of you. And it's about vaping, but not immediately about vaping. But we need to have this conversation. And, I love you all, regardless of your political persuasion. I have nothing but love for you. This is about a much broader, larger problem than party affiliation or sexual identity or any of that. This is a very big deal, because if you've been paying attention, there's a reason why the vaping militia chose the imagery that we chose, and why Son of Liberty Radio, which is a continuation of much of that, philosophy, has chosen to use the imagery that we use, the things that we use. And a lot of my international people may not understand some of this stuff tonight, but because this is an American conversation. But anyway, we're going to have it, and I think you'll get it too. But anyway, Kevin is here. I see other people there. Invite your friends, because this is going to be controversial. But Kevin and I, we never shy away from that. And there was a horrible thing that after the very serious conversation about the thing that we're going to talk about, then we're going to have another very serious conversation that's really bad as well. And it all ties together, I promise you. But anyway, let's get Kevin in here so we can say hello to the people that are here.
I'm not in the mood for you tonight.
Well, that's all right.
I think it'll go well.
I do know that my internet is blazing fast. They installed fiber optic into my house since I was last here, and I'm getting like 370 megabytes per second.
Oh my god!
It is up and down. I just did a speed test a while ago. This thing is blazing fast. So it's definitely any problems with lagging and shit like that. That is not on mine. That is not me. That is not me. But hey, there's people here. There are people here. Let's scroll from the top. Tom's here. And Mallory's here, and Michael's here, and Bruni is here, and Omicidal is here. And let me scroll down a little bit more. I see that the troop has showed up. There's conversation going on. Like I said, invite your friends. Share this amongst your friends right now. Get them in here because we're gonna have. I'm either gonna be the most hated person in this sphere that we're in, the online vapey sphere, because people don't understand, Kevin, that certain things are sacred. And I'm not talking about religiously. I mean, there are some religiously, some people, they pray certain ways, So I don't judge. I have no preference. I think that some people benefit from having some sort of faith. It makes them feel better. That's good. Whatever makes you feel better, guys.
You.
Yep. I'm not gonna. I believe that there's like some sort of cosmic higher power thing. I don't want to say I believe everything that I was taught in Catholic school. Because some of that was pretty mean. Some of that was pretty bad. I had vicious nuns when I was in Catholic school. Mm-hmm. Now, this article that I'm really wanting to share kept giving me shit when I tried to open it. It said that I could no longer read articles from this website for free because I had apparently gone past all of my free articles. And I don't want to buy a subscription to the New York Times, Kevin.
Nope. Did you open an incognito window?
I have done that. I did do that on my phone.
Doesn't always work, but that's what I try to do.
I tried it on my phone, and the one that I shared to you was from a Twitter. It was shared on Twitter, and I could open that one. But now I'm opening the link that I shared to you. And now it's telling me that I can't open it. So let me see if I can find a different link that will let me open it. I mean, it's not like I'm stealing their content. I'm showing the link.
Freedom of the press, not freedom to read it.
Hey, I found it. I found a usable link.
Yeah.
All right, boys and girls. Now, this will not. Let me make sure that it's not too huge, but it is actually letting me view it now. So, this is not immediately like you're going to say, but Patrick, this is a podcast or a live stream or a YouTube about vaping or about drug policy, about harm reduction, about all these things that you talk about. This particular topic that you're going to share with me on screen, or I'm going to share with you on screen, that's not really about vaping.
Yeah,
but it is. It is.
I'll bet you can connect the dot.
I will hold your hand and lead you down the path. I will not offer you candy to get into the van, okay? But
y'all can think for yourselves.
I've seen multiple articles this week. This particular week, all headed down this really bad road. Now, you guys that are Americans, there's a couple Kiwis, there's a couple Aussies in the chat room, Kevin. And they're going to say, well, this doesn't mean anything to us because we're not Americans. And you're talking about the Constitution. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the U.S. Constitution was sort of the inspiration for most other democracies in the world. We were literally the first of, I mean, not considering ancient Greece and Rome. I mean, those were pure democracies. Those were not representative democracies like we have, and like many of you have. But like Thomas Jefferson went to France during their revolution to help them, like, you know, helped draft their own constitution, which was based on our constitution. And our constitution was actually based on a Native American set of laws. Well, I don't know if many of the framers would admit to that, but yes, it was. So this particular article caught my eye because there are it is written by two different law professors, one from Harvard and one from Yale. And it says, the Constitution is broken and should not be reclaimed. Now, I will challenge their premise that the Constitution is broken. The Constitution is not broken. Your interpretation of the Constitution is broken. So, and there's a silly graphic here with, I have no idea what they're trying to tell me with this really stupid graphic, but yes, this is, Dr. Ryan D. Dorfler and Dr. Sam Moyne, and they teach law at Harvard and Yale. So this, and there's a second article that I shared with Kevin as well. And we're going to talk about both of these articles, but we're going to start with this one. But both of these articles, and if you read the words, you will understand their motivations. So it says here, when liberals lose in the Supreme Court, as they increasingly have over the past half century, they usually say that the justices got the Constitution wrong. No, they actually, that is their job, is to study and interpret the Constitution and to try to figure out what the intention of the framers was. And you do that by reading their other writings. And if you do, you get a pretty good idea. Many of the framers were prolific writers.
Yes.
So anyway, but struggling over the Constitution has proved a dead end. The real need is not to reclaim the Constitution, as many would have it, but instead to reclaim America from constitutionalism. Now, the Constitution is what we have built our entire society on. These are the rules that decided how our government was created, how it is divided, and what the purposes of the government is. If you get rid of the Constitution, we have nothing. Our government, our society, all crumbles. So maybe that's what they want, Kevin. The idea of constitutionalism is that there needs to be some higher law that is more difficult to change than the rest of the legal order. Now, I'm just wondering if these people even understand the reason the Constitution, and there are amendments, those are changes that have been made to the original Constitution over time, because the founders were smart enough to say, hey, we don't know everything and things will change over time. So let's include a way for the people that follow us to change the Constitution, but let's make it hard so that a few people can't run rampant over the majority. We have to make it so that everybody, or at least a vast majority of people, agree to these changes. So what they're saying here is since our group of people don't have, and obviously these are liberal college professors, these are Democrat, they're from the Democrat Party. Since they don't have the supermajority required to change the Constitution, and the thing is to make a constitutional amendment, to make a change to the American Constitution, they have to have a certain percentage of votes, and after it passes that hurdle, then a certain percentage of the states have to actually ratify those changes. So it should be difficult to change the foundation of our government. It shouldn't be easy. It should be difficult because this is the most important. These structures, these rules are what hold our country together and prevent it from crumbling. And if you're saying here, we just need to get rid of the Constitution, which there are articles all over the internet in the last week by other crazy people saying, yes, we should get rid of the Constitution because it's so hard for us to get what we want. And that's literally what the first paragraph of this article was. Well, it's so hard for us to get what we want, so let's just get rid of the Constitution, yo.
Let's start over. These people did not sit down and write this shit for fun.
And these are law professors.
Well, yeah,
these are people that believe because they have credentials behind their name.
Patrick, just because I'm wearing a Florida Key West shirt does not mean I was in Florida, Key West. Fuck them in their fucking whatever you just said.
Again, that Mike is in the chat room, says they want to get rid of the Electoral College. Yeah. Well, that would require a constitutional amendment because the Electoral College is set forth in the Constitution. It's there now. The way there have been changes to the way the Electoral College is run. But the actual structure is in the Constitution. So the idea of constitutionalism is that there needs to be some higher law that is more difficult to change than the rest of the legal order. Those are regular old laws. Having a constitution is about setting more sacrosanct rules than the ones that the legislature can pass day to day. Yes, the day-to-day laws should be easier so that you can manage the country. The Constitution is the foundation that everything else sits on. It's like if you built a house of cards. Yeah. If you built a house of cards with a narrow base on the bottom and then tried to widen the top, it's going to fall every time. So you have to have a very safe and concrete and firm structure to put everything else on top of.
Yep.
So our Constitution's guarantee of 2 senators to each state is an example. And ever since the American founders were forced to add a Bill of Rights to their handiwork, passed, national constitutions have been associated with some set of basic freedoms and values that transient majorities might otherwise trample. Yes, the Bill of Rights is a very amazing document. It was something that was maybe. And I don't want to say that the founders were forced to add it. I think it was just an afterthought that they hadn't really considered all of that stuff. I mean, they were doing a lot. I mean, you got to realize that they were doing a lot of work, guys. They
did a lot of work. It has been done since.
So, I feel insulted while I'm reading this, Kevin. But anyway, constitutions, especially the broken one that we have now, inevitably orients us to the past and misdirects the present into a dispute over what people agreed to or agreed on once upon a time, not on what the present and future demand for and from those who live now. This aids the right, which insists on sticking with what it claims to be the original meaning of the past. If you do not remember the past, the mistakes of the past, you will make them again. So again, the founders made it so that you could change it for the times, that you could make adjustments, because they didn't have a crystal ball and couldn't read into the future. So they said, hey, the people that come after us, they need to do this, but we also need to protect the people by saying, well, we just can't arbitrarily change.
Yep.
We can't arbitrarily change the Constitution. And it requires a lot of thought and a lot of support. These are freedoms that we want everyone in our country to have. And we don't want this group of people victimizing that group of people. So let's make it so that 75% of the people have to agree on this. 75% of the politicians that are voting need to agree on this. And then 30-something states have to ratify it to make a change.
Isn't that how the 13th Amendment went?
Yeah. So again, starting at the top, when they're complaining that the Supreme Court is making rulings that they don't like, and now they specifically, they're drawing a line between us and them.
Mm-hmm.
This aids the right, which insists on sticking with what it claims to be the original meaning of the past. I don't believe that every constitutional expert, every constitutionalist is a conservative. No, there are plenty of people that have studied history, that have studied the Constitution, that have studied the writings of the other writings of the framers, that are probably not progressive, liberal, left, far left. There's probably some guys that are like, hey, I'm a Democrat and I'm a liberal, but I'm not crazy like those guys way over there. I understand that we have to work together to make our country better. I'm a constitutionalist Democrat. There is probably some people out there that understand the value of the Constitution that are kind of on the left. I'm actually pointing left. I don't know if the computer flips, but I am pointing left.
That's my right.
To the left, to the left.
See what I did there? It's my right.
Yeah,
Get it?
Yeah,
anyway.
Right. So, arming for war over the Constitution concedes in advance that the left must translate its politics into something consistent with the past. But liberals have been attempting to reclaim the Constitution for 50 years. So this reclaiming, they used it up at the top of the article that they should not reclaim the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't care what your politics are.
Nope.
The Constitution does not care if you're a liberal or a conservative, or if you're a Democrat or a Republican. The Constitution does not care.
No.
It's not written to benefit one party or the other. They had more than one party even then.
Yep.
During the writing of the Constitution, they were already factionalizing their politics even then. So it was not written to benefit one or the other. But liberals have been attempting to reclaim the Constitution for 50 years. With agonizingly little to show for it, it's time for them to radically alter the basic rules of the game.
Sure.
Well, that's the only way they can win, apparently, is to change the rules.
Mm-hmm.
In making calls to regain ownership of our founding charter, progressives have disagreed with strategy and tactics more than about this crucial goal. Proposals to increase the number of justices, strip the Supreme Court's jurisdiction to invalidate federal law or otherwise soften the blow of judicial review, frequently coming together with the assurance that the problem is not the Constitution. So they've admitted here, the founders said we need, and Mike mentioned it earlier in the chat for the people that are not Americans to understand checks and balances. So separate but equal, 3 branches of government, none having more power than the other. One, each of them to check the other. That's what it is. Is the Congress is there to check the president from him becoming a king. The judiciary is there to check the president and the Congress by making sure that the laws that they pass are fair and based on the Constitution of the United States of America, and that there is nothing hinky going on. So each of them keeps the other in place. That the president of the United States cannot wage war without Congress. The president cannot pass laws, period, because that's not his job, even though some presidents try with executive orders. And the scope of executive orders has increased dramatically in the last 50 years. But the president is not supposed to be able to legislate from the White House. That's the way it is. No. He is supposed to execute the laws of the government, the laws of Congress. That's his job. The Congress makes the laws. He is essentially the executive. He is the person that is supposed to follow those laws, to execute those laws. And the judiciary is the one that is supposed to try and, stand over the laws and make sure that criminals or people are punished. That's what the judiciary is for. Yeah. So what they're saying here is that we need to strip proposals to increase the number of justices. That's something that I've been hearing a lot of people say, oh, well, we need to stack the Supreme Court.
Right.
And there's nothing that says that they can't add Supreme Court judges. The president can, but that number has been pretty sacrosanct. It's been that way for a while. Now they're saying that there's proposals to strip the Supreme Court's jurisdiction to invalidate federal law. That is their purpose. That is what the Constitution says they are there for.
Yep.
So how can you, obviously you would have to go to Congress, get a bill passed that, as an amendment, then get the majority of states to ratify those changes before it could happen. But the whole purpose of the judiciary is to keep Congress in check, keep the president in check. Now you're saying, oh, well, let's give Congress all the power.
Right.
So, I'm 100% positive that particular proposal is based on the fact that they threw out Roe v. Wade, which was never a federal law in the first place. It was never a federal law. It was never codified. It was never passed as a bill. It was a legal decision made by the Supreme Court. And if they really wanted that to be protected and held as a law, then they should have passed and made it a law. So then it would have been codified. It would have been a law. And then the process for changing that is completely different than the court reviewing a prior case. So it was never a law. And I'm sure, as far as I'm concerned, Kevin, I have a personal opinion about abortion, but I also don't think it's my place to tell people what to do. So as much as I disagree with, abortion, but it's their right to do it. And if they are a religious, if they're a faith-based person, they will ultimately have to have that conversation.
Not us.
Yeah, that. Do what
Personal.
you want to do. You do you. If you want to, do that, then go ahead and do that. That's not my place to tell you what to do.
Personal liberties.
You have the choice, and you will ultimately have to face any repercussions if there are any.
Right.
Yeah. And let's keep going here before I get really pissed off, Kevin.
There's so many rabbit holes.
I'm already getting mad. If you can't tell.
Somebody earlier said you were in timeout, and Bruni subbed for me. Nice.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago, Bruni came on and hung out with me.
I didn't see the show yet.
Yeah. Bruni did a good job. I needed an Ed McMahon.
Yeah.
And
I love that man.
Oh, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take a second. We're gonna go into the weeds for a second because I brought up Ed McMahon.
All right, fine.
So, my wife, who is not American, she is now. She's an American citizen. But she asked me about Labor Day, which is coming up on Monday.
Yes.
So, my wife said, "What is Labor Day?" And I said, it's a holiday to, celebrate the workers. I said it was, set up as a government holiday because of the union stuff and blah, 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 from the 1920s or whatever. I don't really have all of the details on that. I said, but for me as a kid, Labor Day meant sit in front of the TV for 24 hours watching Jerry Lewis on the Muscular Dystrophy Association telethon. Now, I don't know if that's an internet. I know it's Canadian. It was U.S. and Canada, but for 24 hours, Jerry Lewis broadcast, and I'm talking about like Jerry Lewis, the Nutty Professor Jerry Lewis, and the Vegas performer Jerry Lewis. But he was also the chief executive officer of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. And from like the late 50s to like sometime in, I think, the 90s, maybe, for 24 hours a day, starting Sunday evening until Monday, which is Labor Day, until Monday evening, 24 hours of variety show,
everything,
phone numbers flashing across the bottom of the screen. People would call in and give money. Big, huge corporations would come on in between the performers and give checks for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So I actually found on YouTube some video, like a couple. There's a couple, like not the full 24 hours, but a couple videos of what the telethon was. So I showed them to my wife, and she's like, and people sat in front of the TV for 24 hours and watched this? And I'm like, yeah, because we didn't have cable TV then,
This was the shindig of the year.
I was like, yeah, I mean,
where else? 24-hour TV for that, some of that.
I mean, some of those people that were on there, the dancing dog, like if you were up at 1 o'clock in the morning, it was like little dog tricks and things, crazy no-name performers or whatever. But, we watched one video and it was like Frank Sinatra was on, Sammy Davis Jr. was on, Kool and the Gang was on the same. So, you're talking, where are you going to get Kool and the Gang and Frank Sinatra on stage back to back?
And they'd cut away to rolling rinks across the country and dance-offs and all kinds of things to raise money.
7-Eleven had a bike race. You would pledge so many dollars per mile, and kids would go door to door and take pledges from people.
I did walks,
so many dollars per mile or so many cents per mile. Or whatever. And if they did 20 miles, they would come and knock on your door and say, I did 20 miles, you owe me $20 or whatever. and they would put all that money in an envelope and send it to the Muscular Dystrophy Association.
Yep.
And my wife looks at one of the videos is just the final tote board. That's what they called it. The running tabulate how much money they had collected. And every year it was like the one year was like $50 million, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, and they collected this every year. And I was like, yeah. I said, some years probably were bigger than others or whatever, but she's like, and they still haven't found a cure for it.
Right.
And I'm like,
she smacked you.
Way to take the wind out of my sails, woman.
She smacked you on the nose.
I was like, this is a great thing that we used to do when I was a kid. America got together, and for that one day a year, we cared about other people. We wrote checks. We were entertained.
And then we celebrated with hot dogs.
Barbecue. That's America.
Well,
entertainment, barbecue, and giving money to help Jerry's kids. And they did have some of these videos where it was like showing that this awful child going through some horrible neurological disease, and they were profiting from people's emotions. But you know what? I'm sure some good came from Jerry's kid, from the telethon. Yeah. I have to at least hope that something good came from it. But anyway, that was the digression because the reason I digressed was because Ed McMahon was Jerry's side man for like 30 years of that telethon. He wasn't there for the first 19 years or whatever, but he was there from like the early 60s or the mid 60s on. Oh,
forever.
We're watching. It was the first time Ed McMahon, there's a video on YouTube. It's the first time that Ed McMahon was his side guy. And he's like, Ed, you and I have been doing this for 30 years or whatever. And he said, yeah. He said, but you weren't here for the first 19 years. Mm-hmm. Why weren't you here for the first 19 years? And Ed McMahon says, oh, I didn't know you. And then, and I'm repeating this joke. I am not, but it is a joke that we would never have been able to, we would not have now.
Right.
And it is sort of, well, I won't say the whole, I won't use the word, but he did say, well, I didn't know you, and I didn't want to be I didn't want to be following around a person of a specific religion. I won't say the. He made an anti-Semitic joke, and when I'm sitting there watching that, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he could never get away with that joke now.
Oh,
yeah, you'd have got canceled if you'd have said that joke now. Yeah. Well, I couldn't follow I can't say it. Yeah. But anyway, back to the Constitution, Kevin. I've digressed onto the Jerry's Kids thing. But yes, comedy has changed dramatically. Okay. So it says here, to invalidate federal law or otherwise soften the blow of judicial review, frequently come together with the assurance that the problem is not the Constitution. That's where I ended. Only the Supreme Court's hijacking of it is. So now they're saying the Supreme Court is hijacking the Constitution because it's doing its checks and balances job, and it's even checking itself because that's what it did when it threw out Roe v. Wade. That was not a law. They were not checking federal law. They were checking a previous decision of the court.
Right.
So they check themselves. And even when progressive concede that the Constitution is at the root of our situation, typically the call is for some new constitutionalism. Since the Supreme Court began to drift right in the 1970s, when was Roe v. Wade passed? When did it? when was that decision? Was it not in 73? Yeah.
73.
So,
I think.
Yeah, I think so. Liberals have proposed better ways of reading the Constitution. What?
What, in different lighting or a little different ambiance, or
I mean,
more wine, or
with or without glasses? I mean, the Conservative Federalist Society engaged in a successful attempt to remake constitutional law by brainstorming ideas, creating networks of potential judges, and eventually helping to guide the selection of President Donald Trump's nominees.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are other groups. There are other groups that also have done that in the past for the other political party. I'm not defending Donald Trump. I think I've been quite clear on this show that I have nothing but disdain for Donald Trump. But to say that the Federalist Society is the only one that is helping presidents decide on judges, no, that's not. Yeah. It was revealing that liberals responded by founding in 2001 an organization called the American Constitution Society, which produced the book Keeping Faith with the Constitution. And when liberal law professors got together in the mid-2000s to dream of a different America, that yielded the book Constitution in 2022 or 2020. But since then, the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the consolidation of right-wing control of constitutional law, and the overturning of Roe, and other disasters this term, the damage has only worsened. So,
what we could do is we could, Mike, since I saw that, we could have Mike read the Constitution to everybody. And I think his tone and his inflections and his, speaking ways would be beautiful.
I showed this to you earlier, Kevin. I showed this to you earlier. This is my copy of the Constitution and other founding documents that I carry with me at all times.
Yes.
It's right here in my hand. And we probably will read a selection. It probably won't be from the Constitution. It will probably be from the Declaration. Because guess what, guys? If you read the Declaration and then you read the Constitution, you don't have to go hunting very far for what people were thinking when they wrote it, because they fucking told you.
Mike just said something. The Constitution.
There's no more. We stopped drinking on the show, Kevin. We don't do that anymore. We're much more mature adult people now. We don't.
I don't know about that, but all right. I'll just go along with you just for spite. Oh my God.
I mean, I do have booze right there and right there. But no. Now,
if Mike read the Constitution, I think everyone would understand it better. I do, just because it sounds like James Earl Jones speaking. And
Mike has the opportunity to have a show.
Yeah,
but he's just being lazy.
Oh my God!
He could have a show back, but he's just not doing it. I don't know why. I don't think he likes you anymore. And I'm not saying you. I'm saying you. Mike doesn't like talking to you anymore. I don't know why, because I love you. But Mike, he stopped doing the show because he doesn't like you anymore.
Constitution.
He's in the chat room. Y'all should talk to him. Now he said lazy. He's gonna say,
lazy,
I was sick. I hurt myself. I'm old and decrepit and I can't do a show. He's going to use his health problems as an excuse for not doing a show and talking to you, my lovely friends. Now he's just saying rude things that I can't say on a show that I'm talking about the glorious founding documents of our country.
And the Bill of Rights.
yeah.
You can't just read the Constitution. It's got to be both.
Yeah, well, one reason for these woeful outcomes is that our current Constitution is inadequate. What?
Current? Like there's going to be another one. Current.
What are you talking about? Our current Constitution?
What does that mean, current?
Are you saying that there was a different one before?
Jesus Christ, these people had degrees, right? You know, I've never been to.
This is a fucking these are the law professors at Harvard University.
Oh my God, chuckleheads know better.
Which is why it serves reactionaries so well. Starting with a text that is famously undemocratic, progressives are forced to navigate hardwired features like the Electoral College and the Senate, designed as impediments to redistributive change, while drawing on much vaguer and more malleable resources like commitments to due process and equal protection.
I have a question.
So, which part? Okay, go ahead and ask your question before I.
What are the first three words?
We the fucking people, boys and girls.
Okay, so starting with the text, what? Because what? I'm sorry, I had to go there. I'm just.
So now he's saying that the Constitution is
the current
famously undemocratic.
Oh my God, you're giving me a fucking headache.
Progressives are forced to navigate hardwired features like the Electoral College and the Senate, designed as impediments to redistributive change, while drawing on much vaguer and more malleable resources like commitments to due process and equal protection. So the Senate is specifically included as a branch of the Constitution, a second house of the Constitution, so that everybody in that side of the aisle, that side of the building, I shouldn't say aisle, building, because Congress is on one side and Senate is on the other.
Yeah.
That side of the building, everybody is equal. That is specifically, each state has 2 Congress people, whether they're a big state or a little state, so that every state is represented equally. The House of Representatives is based on population, so bigger states with more population have more representation than smaller states with lower population. So that the people in that house, the House of Representatives, the people in that side of Congress, the people are equal based on population, and the other side, the states are equal on that side. And then they have to meet in the middle and collaborate on what is best for the people and what is best for the state. I don't understand how you could not understand how that is so important.
It's even
there's a reason why you have more people in the House of Representatives than the Senate. The Senate is so that the states are equal. The House of Representatives is so that the people are equal. Tom Morowitz wants an explanation of the Electoral College.
No.
That is sort of a muddy conversation. But it's essentially the president is not, and the Electoral College only matters really on presidential elections. The president is not elected by the popular vote. The president is elected by representative electors in each state that cast their vote based on who has the most votes in that state. Now, some states have a percentage representation, which means that, and it's only a couple states, the electoral vote for each state is cast based on the number of votes that a politician or that a candidate may have, but only in a couple states. So yeah, the Electoral College is kind of muddy, and it's changed quite significantly with the advent of super candidates or super electors. So yeah.
Janine.
There's Janine, the lovely Janine. I bet you she remembers the Jerry Lewis telethon on Labor Day. I bet you she does, because I know it was in Canada. I don't believe it was broadcast overseas. I could
Anybody over 35 should.
Well, Janine may not remember because she's only 25.
I know.
Yeah.
That's where I was going.
So resources that a conservative Supreme Court has used used over the years to invalidate things like abortion rights and child labor laws, and might use in the coming term to prohibit affirmative action. So A, no child labor laws has ever been thrown out by the Supreme Court.
No?
Period.
Those are state, right?
Yeah. And
no, that made me look smart. I'm just going to leave that.
Technically, since the right to have an abortion was never technically a right, because it was never passed as an actual law. These are law professors that are using emotional words to piss people off.
Poor examples.
If abortion had been as important as they claim it was to the left, to the Democrats, and again, I'm not saying I'm not picking a side. I'm just giving the facts. They would have passed it as a law. Then it would have been protected. The case law, the Supreme Court did not throw out they did not rule that a law was unconstitutional. They just reconsidered a previous decision that was done by the Supreme Court, which they have the right to do. People are emotionally responding and using emotional language when they should understand that it was never technically a right that had been passed as an amendment to the Constitution or as even a federal law. So these law professors are not even, they're showing that they're not very good attorneys apparently, because they're not even using the right language. And I'm not a fucking lawyer, and I know this. But now they're saying not only they're invalidating things like abortion rights, which was never a thing. They never invalidated any child labor laws. And now they're saying, and they even hyperlink, that they might, in the coming term, prohibit affirmative action, which is actually fucking law. That's not something that they can't just arbitrarily pick up a topic and say, well, somebody actually has to bring a case to them. It has to go through all the lower courts.
Right.
And then they have to look at all of the court decisions that were made in the lower courts and say, okay, we're going to pick this up. This is going to be a case that somebody has brought to us, because every case that people want to take to the Supreme Court doesn't necessarily mean that the Supreme Court is going to take it up. No. They look at a lot of cases, like the vapey cases. People say, well, I'm going to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. You can take it all the way there, and they can open it and go, we're not going to hear this case, and they're going to throw it away. It never gets thrown on the docket. So these are two guys, Harvard law professor and a Yale law professor, who are guessing, who are trying to make the excuse that we need to throw out the Constitution based on guessing, based on some sort of, philosophical difference with their opponent. So sometimes reclaiming the Constitution is presented as a much needed step toward empowering the people and their elected representatives. In a new book, the law professors Joseph Fishkin and William Forbath urge progressives to stop treating constitutional law as an autonomous domain separate from politics. It actually is an autonomous domain and is separated by politics, because you can't interpret the Constitution based on your emotions. You have to interpret the Constitution based on what is the black and white in front of you, and what has been tried in previous cases. What are the interpretations by the framers? Like I said, in other documents that the framers justified what they did and why they did it. A lot of times, all you have to do is that. And I'll show you an example of basically, like I said, the Declaration of Independence tells you why they did a lot of things that they did. But there are other documents and other writings from these guys that if you read it, you go, oh, well, okay, that's what he meant. Oh, okay. He even said right here, this is what I meant when we said that. Yeah. In contrast with earlier efforts among liberals, such as Jedediah Purdy, put it in a 2018 Times guest essay, put forward a vivid picture of what judges should do with the power of the courts, which exercises in progressive constitutionalism, call on Congress and other non-judicial actors to claim some amount of authority to interpret the Constitution for themselves. What?
No.
It is the fucking judiciary's duty, as written in the goddamn Constitution. Their job is to interpret the Constitution. The fucking Congress is there to write laws, to pass laws. It is the judiciary's job to interpret the Constitution and those laws. That's what the separation of powers is meant to be. The only interpretation that Congress should be making is, well, we're trying to pass a law here that is clearly unconstitutional. Maybe we shouldn't waste our time. That's the only that's the only interpretation that they should be talking about, is the fact that, oh, well,
exactly,
we know that this is unconstitutional, so let's not go. I mean, let's not even vote on it. Let's go back to the drawing board. That is the only interpretation that they're empowered to do.
But without going to the subject itself, lockdowns were unconstitutional. Just let you chew
well, the court lockdowns, because of the Emergency Act that was passed, there are certain times where constitutional freedoms are actually
suspended. Reduced.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the what's it called, the 9/11, what do they call that, the
Freedom Act,
what's it called,
Patriot Act,
the Patriot Act. Yes, the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act actually did limit certain freedoms, especially privacy laws. They gave the government more authority to surveil and stuff, and there are times where it is necessary and needed for the health and the protection of all. I have no problem with wearing a fucking mask, boys and girls.
Right.
I actually wear one every day, even now, because it is a requirement, because I work with sick people. And the last thing I want to do is to pick up a bug outside and bring it inside.
To the people you love and care for, right?
No, to my patients.
Well, yeah.
I have patients that are on radiation and chemo that have reduced immunities. And the last thing I need to do is to go pick up COVID out in the grocery store and not wash my fucking hands and go in and, maybe get a mild case of COVID, and that doesn't hurt me at all, and then take it into an 80-year-old, cancer patient. And since they don't have any immunity because their body is being irradiated, I don't want to kill people, Kevin.
No.
I just got what Janine is mentioning in there in the chat room.
Got them all.
You're actually showing your bald head today.
That's right. Yeah, bald my ass.
That's pretty.
Not gray, not bald.
Your hairline has receded so that it's
It's just because it's freaking short.
It's a little shiny.
A little
shiny.
It'll be all right. It's all right.
It is a breath of fresh air to witness progressives offering bold new proposals to reform courts and shift power to elected officials.
It's bold.
The elected officials already have the authority that was granted them by the Constitution.
They don't need any more.
If you want to take authority from the courts, from the judiciary, from the Supreme Court, and give that to Congress, then what happens to our checks and balances, Kevin?
Well, they're cashing checks. They don't have anything to pay with, and nothing will balance.
I completely agree with you, Bruni.
Unkman Gunny.
But even such proposals raise the question, why justify our politics by the Constitution or by calls for some renovated constitutional tradition? It has exacted a terrible price in distortion and distraction to transform our national life into a contest over reinterpreting our founding charter consistently with what majorities believe now. It doesn't matter what the fucking majority believes. It's in black and white. It is there to protect the few from the many. It is
Correct.
there to make sure that everyone is treated fairly. And I'm not saying that it's perfect, and I know that some people are not treated fairly. We have an article that we're going to discuss later, specifically about people not being treated fairly. We've spent quite a lot of time showing how certain groups are not treated fairly, whether that be because of race, religion, sexual persuasion, socioeconomical level, age. Yeah. Janine is bored by our constitutional conversation because she's Canadian. She says she'll be back in 5 to 10 minutes. She's hoping that I'll be done with this rant in 5 to 10 minutes. I've spent an hour and 5 minutes on this rant, Kevin. We're getting close. Yeah, we are. We're getting close. No matter how openly political it may purport to no matter how openly political it may purport to be, reclaiming the Constitution remains a kind of anti-politics. It requires the substitution of claims about the best reading of some centuries-old text or about promises said to be already in our traditions for direct arguments about what fairness or justice demands. It is difficult to find a constitutional basis for abortion or labor unions in a document written by largely affluent men more than 2 centuries ago. It would be far better. And now let's be clear. If you've done any research on the people that signed the Declaration of Independence or the people that signed the Constitution, the people that were there during the Constitution, the people that represented the people at the Constitutional Convention, they are not all rich. They were all white. I'll give them that.
They were all white.
But they were not all rich, and they were not all from the same socioeconomic level.
Didn't most of them die penniless?
No, the guys that signed the Declaration, the vast majority of them died, maybe not penniless, but very violent and tragic deaths.
Yeah. But
yeah.
The idea that it was written by largely affluent men more than 2 centuries ago leans toward we want affluent men today to rewrite it. That's what it's.
Oh well, no. So I don't remember. I think we talked about it on this show. We talked about somebody was complaining about pronouns, which you call yourself whatever you want to call yourself.
Yeah.
But they were complaining that there was no pronouns in the Constitution.
Yeah.
And I fucking said, the very first word in the Constitution is a pronoun.
That was a tweet. I can't remember who said that.
We.
Us?
Now, to be perfectly honest, we, him, he,
yep,
is in there a lot. She is not in the Constitution at all, ever. It's not. There is no delineation between male and female in the Constitution. And when they say the word man, they are not referring to only people with penises.
Right.
They are referring to man as a species.
Mankind.
Yes.
If you will.
So
that's my interpretation. Mankind.
That's not, I mean, there is no, if there was specifically a delineation between male and female in the Constitution, if they felt like there was a reason to say that women are less than men so that they can't own land or something like that, they would have specifically said that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say that. It was just not included. It was just, obviously because of gender roles at the time, they just didn't feel like, there was, I'm not going to say that it's not a sexist document, but we've made amendments. That's what the point is we made amendments.
Women couldn't
change
vote.
It. Yeah.
As an example, oh, hey, we better include the ladies. It was an afterthought, but
I'm not saying they were perfect.
No.
But they did include a way for us to change the Constitution. And this whole point is these guys up top are saying, since it's so hard to change the Constitution to get our way, we just should throw it all out.
Yeah, we should start over.
No, they're not even offering a solution, Kevin. No. They're not offering an alternative. They're saying, let's just get rid of the Constitution, then everything will be okay.
But didn't Bender say something about anarchy? If he gets up, we'll all get up. It'll be anarchy. What? Really? Oh.
It would be far better if liberal legislators could simply make a case for abortion and labor rights on their own merits without having to bother with the Constitution. Well, they have passed laws, labor laws. There are federal labor laws and state labor laws. So they have made the case for that. There are states that have passed bills regarding abortions.
Yeah.
So, federally, if you thought it was a big deal, why not codify it? Why not pass a fucking law?
Yep.
So then people can say, I have the right to abortion because it's in the fucking law.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where rights are granted. That's where rights are delineated or defined, is by laws. I have the right to do X, Y, and Z because they pass laws that say, as a 21-year-old man, I can vape because the law says I can. I can buy alcohol and drink because the law says I can. That's where rights are delineated and defined. And if they wanted that, if it was as important to these, mouthy people in Congress, then they would have passed a law.
Mm-hmm.
So by leaving democracy hostage to constraints that are harder to change than the rest of the legal order, constitutionalism of any sort demands extraordinary consensus for meaningful progress. The reason why the Constitution is certain laws are more important than other ones. The basis for which our government has its foundation is, so there, Michael Redfern says, a woman's right to choose is written into my state's constitution. Okay, then. That means that each state could also do that. And I don't have a problem with the federal government passing a law that makes it a woman's right. And I would support a constitutional amendment to make that happen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not my place whether I agree to or not agree to. If I have a specific belief, it's not my place to enforce my will upon other people.
Exactly.
And the reason that's why, Kevin, that's a perfect example of why the Constitution is so difficult to change.
Yep.
Because the Constitution is one group of people enforcing their will on other people. It should be difficult to add more places where people can enforce their will upon other people.
I thought that was where the moral majority, the phrase moral majority came from. Not sure.
Well, I mean, that's a Reagan term. That was
Right.
Reagan's thing, the moral majority. And he was the first political candidate. He was the first modern era presidential candidate to focus on other parts of the country other than the
Bible
highly
Belt.
populated. He wanted to seek the people in the middle, the breadbasket, the hardworking people of America that are often quiet. The moral majority was those people. Those are the normal Joes. That was his target audience, and that's how he got elected, by hitting those topics, making promises, talking about the mansion on the hill. I mean, those are famous speeches from Reagan. And I invite you to go to the YouTube channel. The Reagan Presidential Library has all of his speeches on like, even the ones a lot of people don't realize that after World War II, he was an actor, but he was not a big leading man actor. He was kind of a B movie actor. He did, smaller movies. He did sillier movies, like the one Bedtime for Bonzo, and those things. The Gipper was like his biggest film. Like that was his, but he actually couldn't get jobs because all of the big actors that had fought in World War II, and there were a lot of actors from Hollywood that were fighting in World War II, they came back home and started taking, because he couldn't serve. Well, he did serve, but he was not allowed to fight active duty because he had really bad vision problems. So he worked for the branch of the military that makes training films, and he did a lot of like propaganda films for the military. So yeah, he did serve, but like he enlisted and wanted to go, but during the eye exam, they told him, he said, "We're afraid that you won't be able to see the difference between our soldiers and their soldiers, and you'll shoot our guys. Your vision is that bad." So yeah. But anyway, they even when he came back and he couldn't get jobs because all the big actors came back, he actually took a job working for Westinghouse, and he was the spokesperson for Westinghouse, and he would travel all over the country promoting Westinghouse. But they had this idea where they would push their political agenda in these speeches, and a lot of what he ended up making his keystone topics as president when he was running for governor of California and for president were the same talking points that Westinghouse had written into his speeches when he was working for them. But if you watch those old speeches, you'll see where politically because he was a liberal before that.
Yeah.
So another digression. Let's see. Yeah. It conditions democracy in which majority rule always must matter most in surviving vetoes from powerful minorities that invoke the constitutional past to obstruct a new future. So they're saying is that since it's so hard for the people that want to change the Constitution, and since they can't change the Constitution because they would not get the majority to agree to it, that they have to change it so that the constitutional past does not obstruct a new future.
Right.
After failing to get the Constitution interpreted in an egalitarian way for so long, the way to seek real freedom will be to use procedures consistent with the popular rule. It will not be easy, but a new way of fighting within American democracy must start with a more open politics. See, there's some grammatical problems in this as well. Must start with a more open politics of altering our fundamental law, perhaps in the first place by making the Constitution more amendable than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make it so the majority, 51%, can more easily enforce their will upon the minority, the 49%.
So we have to socially engineer, gaslight, and change. Okay, so far.
By doing this, Kevin, if they make it so much easier for, say, our political climate right now is that the Democrats have the presidency, they have the House, they have the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain numbers that are built into the system to prevent a small majority, a minor majority, from crushing their political enemies or their opposite numbers. So, let's just make it a simple majority to change the Constitution now. So then in 4 years or 2 years or whatever, when the next group of guys come and the other party takes over again, which inevitably it will, we're going to change the Constitution again because we don't like the changes that they made. Well, no, it is designed specifically to be a little bit more hard to change so that the majority does not crush the minority.
Yeah. Yes.
Everything should be, this way people are motivated to try to work together. But see, they're chipping away. This is where we get to our topic, Kevin. They chip away little things like vaping, for example. Pick. And people are so used to the government telling them what they can and can't do because the boot is already on their neck.
You can't buy whipped cream in a can unless you're 21 in New York. Because that's the worst thing you can do.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to skip a paragraph. They're talking about changing the rules so that a simple majority can change one way to get to this more democratic world is to pack the union with new states.
Oh, yes. Well, let's do that.
Doing so would allow Americans to then use the formal amendment process to alter the basic rules of the politics and break the false deadlock that the Constitution imposes through the Electoral College and the Senate in the country, in which substantial majorities are foiled on this issue. More aggressively, Congress could simply pass a Congress Act reorganizing our legislature in ways that are more fairly representative of where people actually live and vote, and perhaps even reducing the Senate to a more council of revision, which is something the Canadians have apparently done, without the power to obstruct laws. So they're saying get rid of the protections that are there to keep the majority from crushing the little guy, or the less, let's let California and New York decide everything for everybody else, because that's that's what is going to happen if you get rid of the Electoral College, if you change the way that our Constitution decided that the country should be created and run.
Thank you, Homicidal. We appreciate your support. Well, and who doesn't like California? Let's see a show of hands. I've never been there and I don't like
I love my Californian friends.
Janice doesn't even like it. Look at that. She's been there twice. She don't like it. Oh, Lord.
I was gonna spend more time on the Constitution. I have my hand Constitution here. I think we've spent an hour and 22 minutes on that topic. And I'm sure that some of you are probably not entertained with my reading this article. But simply put, the whole purpose of the Constitution is to protect the minority from being crushed by the majority. It's not cool.
It
is very important that the protections are there to prevent from the president from overpowering the rest of government, or from Congress from wrenching too much power from the president. Everything is there to keep everybody in order. And obviously,
dictation.
Yes, we don't want a king, so we have to have, and we don't want a small group of people telling the majority, but we also want to make sure that the minority, the people that are not in power, also have protection. Excuse me.
Homicidal, I have a counter to that. I appreciate the fact that they're stupid enough to put it in writing and then publish it so that I could read how stupid they are. I'm not a very smart man constitutionally. I'm nowhere near what Patrick's knowledge is of it, but I got an idea. I got a general synopsis, or whatever you want to call it. And for God's sake, I need more of this, because I like to see Patrick all riled up. Oh man!
All right. No, you're just choppy. We're used to this. Let's see. Let's just do this.
We
the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. That's all. I mean, I get a tear in my eye. I get a little tear in my eye, Kevin, when I read those wonderful words. And I don't even want to talk about the Declaration, because I do tear up when I read the Declaration, dude.
I see as an example, the menthol ban is banning something against a minority because the minority uses menthol.
Well,
that's an example.
Now, this is information that you and I knew. That who was it that was on the show when we tried when Marwa was on the show, and we said that a menthol ban unfairly targets minority groups, the LGBTQ community, which she was unaware that menthol cigarettes were more popular in that community.
Right.
So, there are things that we know that other people don't know, or they don't keep track of. But so speaking of idiots, Kevin, not you and I.
Well.
I found this. This will be this is a palate cleanser, Kevin. This will be our palate cleanser discussion.
All right.
So
I'm ready.
This is a local news channel, ABC 227 in Pennsylvania, Harrisburg. and they have a segment called the Mommy Minute.
Good. They should.
Yeah, so let's listen to the Mommy Minute.
Oh, we're going to make you listen.
In this week's Mommy Minute, the dangers of vaping. Startling statistics from the American Lung Association driving a new set of public service announcements aimed at parents of kids as young as 10.
Now, the Mommy Minute is actually 2 minutes and 15 minutes. 2 minutes and 15 seconds. So just keep that in mind.
Every day, thousands of kids start vaping. So if you want to talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping,
you may have noticed new ads helping parents spark up a conversation with kids about the dangers of vaping.
Why is he here?
Yeah, I gotta get it.
Now, I use this language, and Richard corrected me a while ago. And I said, talk to your kids about vaping. And he said, no, talk with your kids about vaping. Don't talk at them. Don't talk to them. Talk with them.
Trending,
No,
honey.
this campaign is particularly targeting middle school students because.
Now, this is how you educate and talk to people about stuff. You get in front of a camera and you make a dance video. That's how you have a substantive discussion with your child.
This is an age where kids may not have tried vaping yet, or they may have just dabbled in it and they're not hooked on it yet. So it's an age where parents can have more of an impact.
Dr. Christy Sadriamelli is a pediatric pulmonologist at Johns Hopkins and sees the effects of
Now, the young lady in this video is using a fairly old setup. This is a mechanical mod with a dripping atomizer. I haven't seen one of those in a long time. Stock footage.
Cigarettes for.
One thing I like to tell kids is it's not just harmless water vapor. The aerosol.
And that's true. It is not just harmless water vapor. Let's be clear. We have to be 100% factual. There are other things in the emissions.
All from vaping devices contains heavy metals. A lot of the flavorings can put off toxic chemicals.
The American Lung is.
And to be completely honest, at like super high temperatures, that is true. At temperatures way above what a human can tolerate, chemical reactions do occur at very high temperatures, like that no human being would ever vape at.
That dry hit thing.
That is possible. VG does vent acrolein at like 600 degrees, but nobody vapes at 600 degrees.
Only mice will. I'm told.
Says in 2020, 1 in 5 high school age kids.
There's that 20% again that we talked about 2 weeks ago or whatever. Yeah, 20%, 1 in 5
were vaping. In middle school, it was 1 in every 21.
And that 1 in 5, I think, is something close to like 4 million. It's like 3 million plus.
And this
is
at
20%.
This literal footnote. Remember, the FDA said don't use 2021 numbers.
No,
this is
you got to
why.
use those 2019 numbers.
Keep rolling the ones before that. Yeah.
Most kids have a misconception that it's not as bad as traditional smoking.
That is not a misconception, by the way. That is a factual. Kids have it right. Vaping is not nearly as dangerous as, the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Yes. So this is misrepresenting when she says that kids are incorrect.
Perception that it's not as bad as traditional smoking.
And I hear that from kids all the time. So in my clinic, I often have to debunk that.
Vaping can be harmful to.
How can you debunk that? Show me some science, woman.
No.
Because
can't.
The vast body of science does verify that vaping is far safer than smoking.
To brain development and lead to chronic lung.
Oh God, the brain development, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Janine,
Brain
because
development.
they're told what to say.
Yes,
That's why.
they've been indoctrinated and
To
re-educated.
debunk that,
Vaping can be harmful to brain development and lead to chronic lung issues. Dr. Sadri Melli says it's also leading to more asthma and, in some cases, seizures. And she says if
Seizures?
Well,
Seriously?
they didn't specify now, Patrick.
Can. They use the word can.
Mm-hmm.
Can.
Modal. Mental.
your child is vaping, it might not be obvious.
you may already know what a Juul looks like, but it looks a lot like a USB drive. And I know people, even nurses, that kind of missed it when their kid had it out for a while because they actually thought it was a USB.
Oh, even some nurses.
Patrick,
Kevin.
listen.
Now I work with
Logan,
nurses, and I'll tell you that nurses are no more intelligent than any other average person about other things other than nursing. So why would you hold the nurses up as an example?
Well, don't you think if Logan came out here with a USB in his mouth, I'd be curious?
I think you should be, yes.
I think I would be.
So they have a Juul, they have an Enjoy, they have that looks like a My Blue.
Yeah.
I can't tell what these others are.
Juul or Juul knockoffs.
Yeah.
Just
drive. It is unfortunately kind of easy to sneak these.
Now, for all the signs of vaping and to look at a website designed to help parents talk to their kids about vaping, we've set up a link at abc27.com.
Thank goodness.
I wonder what they're going to say the signs are. I think
we filmed 15 Pennsylvania kids who were always.
I think that we probably did go over this. Like, kids are not wanting to spend time with their parents.
Yeah. Well, brainworms. Clearly, when you see the child with the brainworms popping out of their head, that's a sign.
Okay, let's look at this. These are American Lung Association says look for the following. So the presence of unfamiliar technology, online purchases, and or packaging. So most of you boomers like Kevin probably don't know what every little bit of technology that his kids bring into the house.
Right.
Yes, I see Andrew has finally showed up. He's been gone for a while. Faint, sweet, or fruity scents. Well, my wife uses so many fucking scented candles in this house.
Right.
And not even the ones that plug in, the plug-in ones from the Bath and Body Works.
Scentsy and all. Yeah.
Behavioral and mood changes. Well, all teenagers do that.
Yeah.
Increased irritability or restlessness. Yes, kids do that too. Now, cutting back on caffeine, I don't know that is valid in any way, shape, or form.
I don't think it is, but all right, we'll go with it.
I mean,
Janine.
Desire for flavor due to taste bud degradation.
Yeah, that would be false. Because the minute pneumonia. Yeah, well,
I think I would be concerned if my kid had pneumonia, but I wouldn't immediately point to vaping. I would say, it's cold and there's bad diseases going around. Increased thirst. Well, I was thirsty all the time as a teenager already. I was drinking. My brother and I could drink a gallon of milk in a day.
I'll agree with that.
Now, that was back when we drank milk. Now people don't drink milk.
I agree with the thirst because I want everyone to hydrate and it's important. Period. And if you have a dry mouth, you want to have a little refreshment.
Yeah. And then nosebleeds. Well, when I was a kid, the only nosebleeds I ever got and I was smoking like a fucking fiend when I was a teenager, was from somebody punching me in the nose, and they generally got one back. So And my mom knew about that because the principal would be calling, "Hey, your son just knocked somebody out." And she'd say, "Again?"
What kind of witchcraft is this that Harold is trying to persuade everybody for?
All right. So that was our palate cleanser, Kevin.
Oh my God.
Now I'm going to scroll through here real quick, and I'm going to make sure that we. Oh, yeah, I need to cover this one.
Oh.
I need to cover this one. This is not the bad one. We're going to wait and do the bad one.
All right, that's fine.
We need to put some distance between the rant about the Constitution before we go into
before we talk about the Constitution.
Before we get into the really bad one, because the really bad one pisses me off more than you could ever know. Well, no, you will know because I'm fucking going to tell you. So you remember we talked about an incident at a school a while ago in Tennessee where the school resource officer and the school nurse and a bunch of kids had to be taken to the hospital because of a supposed fentanyl in a vape thing. Yeah. Remember that? And they said that they had sent it out to the crime lab and were waiting for results, but they had to treat the school resource officer and the nurse, because of the fentanyl in the vape. Yep. Okay.
Well,
so here's a follow-up like 6 months later.
Imagine that.
So it says no fentanyl has been found inside vape pens or marijuana by Tennessee labs.
Imagine that.
So it says here, the commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services says fentanyl actually needs to enter the bloodstream to affect people.
Imagine
so
that.
you can't have a fentanyl overdose by touching fentanyl with your finger.
Unless you put it in your mouth. Maybe.
Well, unless you have a cut on your finger.
Right.
Or, can enter the bloodstream through your finger.
Open sores.
So let's see. Let's I have audio shared, right? Yes, I do. So let's play this video. Oh, but I have to do this because they tricked me. Right, now I can skip ad. No, let me unmute.
Discussed the state of drugs in Tennessee. Fentanyl is among the agency's top concerns, especially when it comes to counterfeit pills. However, they haven't found the deadly substance in vapes or marijuana yet. Commissioner Marie Williams, says those stories are just a rumor.
It is fiction. What we know there is that there have been reports of this, but it's never been provided by lab testing in Tennessee. That's very important to know.
Last year, Monroe County Schools says 2 schools resource officers and a nurse were exposed to fentanyl from a student's vape pen. We first brought you this story last fall. Police say Narcan was administered to all 3 people who recovered quickly. Online now, if you or someone you know is struggling with drug addiction, there are resources on our website. You can call the Tennessee Red Line. That number on your screen, 800-889-9789. The Metro Drug Coalition in Knoxville also has resources and confidential referrals for treatment. That full list is on our website.
So that previous story that we talked about and they reported was that it was indeed fentanyl. Mm-hmm. That that's what they said.
That's exactly what they said.
So now we know for a fact that no state drug lab verified that and that it was all fiction.
It's right below.
Yeah, so I'm going to read it. In November of 21, the Monroe County Sheriff's Office said 2 deputies and a nurse were exposed to fentanyl from a vape pen at Sequoia High School. All 3 were given Narcan, according to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. The incident resulted in crews wearing hazmat suits, walking through the hallways. A private cleaning and restoration company was also called in to sanitize the area. In August of 2022, state leaders gathered with reporters to discuss the state's policies and strategies for addressing illegal drugs. The meeting was called the State of Illicit Drugs in Tennessee 2022. There, they said they were aware of reports of fentanyl vape and pens, but it's never been proven by laboratory testing in Tennessee. They also said fentanyl would need to be ingested or injected for it to affect a person. Fentanyl has to enter your bloodstream, which means it has to be injected, ingested, or otherwise introduced into your system. Now, to be completely scientific here, if there was a way to carry fentanyl in a liquid and you inhaled it into your body through a vape and got into the lungs and the blood picked it up, it would be in your bloodstream. So you can indeed inhale fentanyl, but the story was that they had physically touched it.
Yeah.
That it had leaked on them or something, and that they had to be rushed to the hospital and given Narcan, blah, blah, blah. To touch a suspicious powder, if you touch a suspicious powder, remain calm, said Marie Williams, the Commission of Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. Don't touch your eyes or mouth, and make sure that you wash your hands immediately. She did warn that fentanyl can enter the bloodstream through open cuts or wounds. However, people who handle fentanyl in the medical field on a regular basis said it's impossible to experience drug overdose simply by touching it or being near it. Pharmaceutical fentanyl also is not linked to increased overdose deaths, they said. Most fentanyl involved in overdoses is created or designed by people who are not doctors. That is not true. That is not true. Obviously, there are bad actors in the world nurses, for example, who would steal fentanyl from their place of employ and give it out to people or sell it to people for a profit. That is not artificial or created or designed by people who are not doctors. Distributed by people who are not doctors, maybe. But yes, there is a lot of illegal pharmaceutical fentanyl out in the world. We know when administered by medical professionals, pharmaceutical grade fentanyl is safe and effective. Again, when you follow the instructions and you're not stealing it and selling it to other people.
Yes.
Most of the adverse reactions described in situations where a person accidentally came into contact with fentanyl do not match the symptoms of an overdose. She also said the American College of Medical Toxicology and others say the severe reactions are more likely due to people having panic attacks due to ingrained misconceptions about the drug. Symptoms of a panic attack include alertness, rapid heartbeat, and hyperventilating. Symptoms of an overdose include pinpoint pupils, falling asleep or losing consciousness, slow or shallow breathing, choking or gurgling sounds, a limp body, pale blue skin. Our mind is, if it wasn't prescribed to you, don't take it. Obviously, yes. If you should not be taking drugs that are somebody else's. Please don't take something that wasn't prescribed to you. Please understand that you are more at risk today than you could ever be related to taking medication that looks like something that it is not. That is why we're having thousands of deaths.
Well, I appreciate this is your brain on drugs tone.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it.
Obviously, Kevin.
This is not the first one where they've shown cops sitting on the gurneys and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
So now you've got a medical director or whatever the title was. I apologize. I didn't pay attention to you. I don't like you. Saying the opposite of what they want to be said purposely, deliberately, just like they should be with vaping or any other idiotic stupidity that they try to shove down your throat. So one, yeah, it's dangerous. Duh. People die. Duh. Two, stop fucking lying about it. Jesus.
All right.
Panic
So I'm
attack.
gonna
Jeffrey.
I'm gonna give you a peek into the Google Foo, Kevin.
The who?
The Google Foo. How to find things on the Googles. So that I can highlight the spread of information. How they do stuff.
Well,
so
my kids I thought my kids were Google. They know everything.
Right. So I opened Google.
Yep.
And I did a word search for vaping. Now
Yep.
I click the news tab, and then I go over and hit tools, and I go sort by date so that I get the newest first. So I did this yesterday. I did it again today. Just because I wanted to highlight, if you scroll through, there's a lot of nonsense. A lot of these are advertisements. Some of these are health websites or whatever. This is a new one that I didn't see earlier today, but you start going through the hits. So this one, we'll probably talk about this one, but if you keep scrolling, you're going to see this one. Risk for vaping up for physically active high school students. So then if you scroll down for more, risk for vaping up for physically high school students. And that one's a different one. So that's two of the same headline so far.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I need to read this one. Keep scrolling. You're going to see more. Well, we're not going to talk about that one yet. Physically active teens more likely to vape. 3. And then we're going to keep going. This is the fentanyl one we just talked about. We're going to talk about this other one. Georgia high school athletes more likely to vape, study finds. That's 4.
Mm-hmm.
The headline changed, but healthier option fit teens more likely to vape. That's 5. Healthier option fit teens more likely to vape. That's 6. This is the mommy minute that we already talked about. Physically active adolescents more likely to vape. That's 7. And you keep scrolling, you're going to see somewhere. I think I counted earlier by scrolling through the same article was like 22 times with slightly different headlines. So, and literally almost exactly the same text. The ones with identical headlines was the same exact story. A couple of them were exactly the same story with slightly varied language. The same exact one. So they do a press release. The AP will write a story, or one of the other news agencies will write a story, and then news agencies like Gannett or other broad news companies will write one story and then repeat it for all of their local distributors. And then that's how news gets delineated. Mm-hmm. So the same article actually gets 15 or 22, in this case, 22 different hits. It's the same fucking story. Yeah. But everybody thinks, oh, well, there's 22 news stories, but it's the same exact news story.
Propaganda.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What cartoon are they talking about? Talking about cartoons in our chat room. Did you see that, Kevin?
Leave those people alone.
News cartoons. So here's a simple one, Kevin. This is the newest one that I just showed you. Teens with smoking parents 55% more likely to vape.
Really?
So that means that the next generation got smarter.
What do you think? You hope.
Teens with parents that smoke, or with smoking parents. I'm hoping that they're talking about smoking cigarettes and not because they're on fire.
Right.
55% more likely to vape. Yes, because they see how smoking has affected their mom and dad, and they're like, well, I'm not going to do that. Vaping is better than smoking, so I'm going to do that instead. Okay, that's an actual smart choice, boys and girls. A new study presented in the European Respiratory Society International Congress in Barcelona, Spain, found that teens whose parents smoke are 55% more likely to try e-cigarettes. In a major study of Irish teenagers, smart kids, because, they're like me, researchers found that the proportion who have tried e-cigarettes has increased considerably, although boys are more likely to use e-cigarettes than girls. Girls' use is expanding more rapidly. The study authors warn of the dangers of nicotine dependence and advocate for stricter laws to protect young people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A group from the Dublin-based Tobacco Free Research Institute Ireland, TFRI, conducted the study. They looked at the data on 6,216 teenagers between the ages of 17 and 18.
Mm-hmm.
Including information on whether their parents smoked while they were children. Teens were asked about smoking and e-cigarettes. According to the study, teens who have smoking parents are about 55% more likely to have tried e-cigarettes and around 51% more likely to have attempted smoking. So with data on more than 10,000 Irish teenagers aged 16 to 17, the team also combined several Irish data sets to provide the most thorough analysis of teen e-cigarette use in Ireland. They looked at the overall numbers of teenagers who tried to or regularly use e-cigarettes, as well as how this is changing over time. This revealed a rise in the percentage of people who tried e-cigarettes from 23% in 2014 to 39% in 2019. Now, I have to understand. I don't know why I should feel like I have to explain this, but in 2014, vaping was very much smaller than it is in 2019. Yes. 2014, here in 2014 where I live, there was not a single fucking vape shop. And then in 2019, there were like 5 vape shops. Now they're back down to like 2, but that was since 2019. So of course the number is going to increase because the availability increased.
Yes.
That's like if you have fewer places that sell beer, there are fewer people are going to be able to get beer.
But if mom is smoking and she's tried a vape and it sits there, then they may try it.
Hey, teenagers cited curiosity 66% and peer pressure 29% as the key drivers for trying e-cigarettes. 3% of people claimed it was to stop smoking. In 2015, 32% who had tried e-cigarettes for the first time said they had never used tobacco. In 2019, that number rose to 68%. So 68% of those kids had tried smoking and now they were vaping. Okay, that's good.
Well, less smoking is very concerning, Patrick.
Yeah, and apparently these people are really upset about this. We have found increasing use of e-cigarettes in Irish teenagers, and that's a pattern that is emerging elsewhere in the world. There's a perception, according to the Director General, that vaping is a better alternative to smoking, but our research shows that this doesn't apply to teenagers who usually haven't tried cigarettes prior to e-cigarettes, except 68% of them said they did. This indicates that for teens, vaping is a route to nicotine addiction rather than out of it, except that they can control the amount of nicotine and wean themselves off.
Yes.
That's something that people don't ever consider, Kevin.
No.
In order to determine whether there are any disparities between boys and girls, the research carefully examined the data on 3,421 16-year-olds. The researchers discovered that although boys were more likely to try to use e-cigarettes, rates among girls were rising more swiftly, with 23% reporting having tried e-cigarettes in 2015 and 39% in 2019. And 10% reporting that they were presently using e-cigarettes in 2015 and rising in 2018. Researchers discovered that teenage use of e-cigarettes, more so for males than females, or males and girls, was significantly influenced by having peers who smoke and having less parental supervision.
No.
Really?
What?
Really?
So parenting is an action verb.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. At least they're admitting it now.
Yeah. Begrudgingly and barely, but they're. Good Lord. I do not understand this. Parental super.
Huh.
Who'd have thunk?
Yeah. We can see that parents and friends have an influence on teenagers' decision to try e-cigarettes. And that's important because these are factors that we can try to change, added doctoral research Miss Salome Sunday. That sounds like a Bond girl name. Salome Sunday.
It's a Bond girl.
It does. It sounds like a Bond girl name. Have you never watched a Bond movie before, Kevin?
No.
So they're saying here we need to change people's behavior, Kevin. We need to do social engineering and change people that we can try to change.
Well, until then, we'll just use modal verbs and phrases.
Yeah. However, governments need to play their part by making laws to protect children and young people. We already do this with smoking, and we need to do the same with vaping. According to Dr. Joan Hannafin, the lead researcher, we need to continue monitoring the situation in Ireland, around the world, since we can see that the number of youngsters smoking e-cigarettes is changing quickly. There's that damn word again, smoking e-cigarettes, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I don't like it. I don't like it, Kevin.
You can't expect intelligence. You have to lower your standards a little bit, Patrick. Just isn't worth fretting over.
Yeah.
So they've given the idea to children all along, and it didn't work until vaping came along, that smoking is bad for you kids. And they told me that. They showed me the lungs. And I said, well, that's pretty neat. And I went and smoked a cigarette at the end of the day. And it didn't work. And the fried egg didn't work, et cetera, et cetera. Now, they haven't told these kids a whole lot of anything in 2014 because it wasn't prevalent. And they were already doing it. Despite what they're saying now, they're smoking less.
Mm.
And that's very concerning to those people.
Well, yeah, because it does affect how much money they have in the bank account.
Well, yeah, that too.
We also plan to study social media to understand how this influences girls and boys' vaping behavior.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Professor Jonathan Grigg, who chairs the Tobacco Control Committee for the European Respiratory Society and was not involved in the study, added, these findings are worrying, not just for teenagers in Ireland, but for families all around the world. We know already that children of parents who smoke are more likely to take up smoking. This study suggests that teenagers are also influenced by smoking parents to start using e-cigarettes and to become addicted to nicotine.
Right.
This work indicates that more and more teenagers are trying e-cigarettes, and they are not doing so to help them quit smoking, even though 68% of the people
up above
said that they had tried smoking before. This is important because we know that e-cigarettes are not harmless. The effects of nicotine addiction are well established, and we are discovering that e-cigarettes can harm the lungs, blood vessels, and the brain. And we need to do more to protect children and teenagers from these harms. Yes, we definitely need to protect the brains of adolescent mice. Definitely.
I'd be more concerned about the brains of the professionals that are being outwitted and outsmarted by 14-year-olds.
Well, there is that.
Continuously. Forever. When did you start smoking? And who were you outsmarting?
I was like 12.
Yeah, so.
I know you were like 6, but you know.
9.
9.
Oh my God.
Okay. All right.
You've successfully given me a headache tonight already. So there you go.
Oh well, this next one,
I've had a headache for 2 days for that. If that's what you're going at.
Well, this next one, I haven't read. This is a new one. This is one that we just found on our little Google search.
All right.
Because you and I didn't really. I do have another thing to share.
Yes.
I want to put that off for a little bit longer because that's going to make me really mad. And sad.
It
and
is.
sad. Yeah. So this next one, we're gonna learn together, boys and girls, because I haven't read this one. Which teens are more likely to vape? Research shows surprising patterns in race and sexuality.
Oh my God.
Oh, I bet you I'm not going to be surprised at all, Kevin. A new study from the Annenberg School of Communication aims to examine differences in current e-cigarette prevalence amongst youth at the intersections of sexual orientation with race and ethnicity in the U.S. So we already have talked about this. I mean, we mentioned it earlier, and we already know that smoking is higher in certain socioeconomic levels, that the poor people are the targets of cigarette companies. We've talked about that. Obviously, the Black and brown community have also been targeted. We know that. So we know that because we've done the deep dive.
Yep.
But let's see if the researchers agree with us, Kevin. Let's see. Researchers estimate that half of all high school students in the United States have tried vaping at least once.
No.
There
you go.
1/3 of those students vape regularly. So a while ago, it was 1 in 5, which is 20%.
Yeah.
So now this says that 1/3, which is 33.5% or 33.33%. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
They can't even agree
No.
on how many kids are using these damn things, right? Okay. Since e-cigarettes were introduced in the United States in 2013, which is not valid and not true because I've been vaping since 2010. Kevin.
That's like 5 wrong.
And I know people that have been vaping since 2008.
Right.
So they've become more and more popular, especially among teens. From 2019 to 2020, the popularity of disposable e-cigarette use among high school students who currently vaped went up 1,000%. From 2.4% to 26.5%, according to the CDC.
Currently, yeah.
The popularity of disposable e-cigarette, well, you know why, right, Kevin?
Well, it was nothing to do with that advertising, was it?
Well, it has nothing to do with the fact that Juul, which is not a disposable vape, was pulled from the market.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the fact that most of the companies that made pods were forced out of the flavor business, but disposable vapes were still available, and more disposable vapes were introduced into the market with flavors. So kids are not going to buy the thing that they used to vape.
No.
Which was Juul or another pod system. They're going to go for the thing that has flavors. So that's why disposable numbers went up, because they removed the flavored pods from the market. And most kids, I'm not going to lie, most people, regardless of age, if given the option of having a tobacco flavor or a cucumber mint flavor, they're going to go for cucumber mint.
You'd think, yep.
I mean,
duh.
Now, you and I differ from most people, but, you know.
Right. We know that, though.
Yes, we're weird.
We can't help ourselves.
I think if we asked everybody in the chat room right now, do you vape tobacco, or are you currently vaping tobacco flavor? You and I are probably the only ones that are saying yes.
I would agree with you. I concur. Is anybody using tobacco flavor alone right now?
Yeah, I mean, if you're using right this moment, you don't if you're in the chat room and you're vaping something other than tobacco, let me
Stand down.
Just type it in your chat. Just type in what your flavor. What is your flavor? What are you flavoring right now?
So there you go.
Well, we got one answer.
Nope. Pomegranate.
Well, Janine's not even giving me a flavor. She just said no. So I'm assuming that means that she does not vape tobacco flavor. Mallory does not. Homicidal is vaping pomegranate.
Homicidal Constitution.
Andrew
lime
is doing watermelon lime. Janine is doing cafe mocha.
Only Neanderthals vape tobacco.
Well, I don't have red hair, Steve.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Yeah. I have a really nice cafe mocha tobacco, actually, though.
So they're using you see where they're going with this is don't use 21's numbers or 22.
No, they're throwing. I mean, they
go back.
They're throwing 2013 under the bus.
Yeah, this is
bullshit. So apparently Mallory is vaping at this moment. She has 9 devices in her hand, and she's vaping all 9 flavors at one time.
See, there you go.
Yeah,
and typing. Come on.
Yeah, she's gotta be talented to hold like 9 vapes.
And 10 fingers, and you can right. Yeah. I'm pretty impressed.
A new study published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine uses survey data from more than 38,000 high school students from 2015 to 2019, Kevin, to determine how prevalent vaping is in different sexual orientation, race, and ethnicity groups. What they found are dramatic differences in vaping rates across those markers of identity and sometimes in surprising patterns.
Stop. Can you explain to me why this is important to know? What difference does
what?
This make?
Why
do they need to know their marker of identity or their race or their sexual orientation?
Well, I mean,
if it's smoking or vaping, it's a boy or a girl, then let's move on with our day. Why do they need to go this far down? They
need to know who they need to target with more brainwashing.
Oh, okay.
Now, as somebody that is interested in tobacco control and helping them do it properly, obviously we need to know what stressors are in these people's lives. What pressures? We know that smoking rates are higher in neurodiverse groups. We know that 40% of all cigarettes that are ever smoked are smoked by people that are in the neurodiverse community, the mentally ill community. We know that. So I would like to know this as well, because I would assume I don't have firsthand knowledge on different sexual orientations, because I like girls and I've always liked girls, and I'm not, but we know for a fact, at least in my generation,
Rudy,
kids that were in that world were targeted by other kids, their families, their churches. So yeah, we need to know, because obviously those people are probably at risk for other risky behaviors, not because of their sexual choice, but because of the stressors in their life might push them to something else.
Right. There's where I was going.
Yeah. And we need to obviously, make sure that they're not targeted by pressure, by stress, by asshole kids that pick on them because they're different.
Yep.
They need to be protected. They need to be treated fairly. So we need to know this information. I don't have a problem with this. Co-written by Andy Tan, associate professor at the Annenberg School of Communication, the study fills in a wide gap that exists in e-cigarettes studies research on vaping prevalence among young people at the intersections of more than one minoritized identity. The study uncovers significant differences in the prevalence of current e-cigarette use between lesbian and heterosexual girls when comparing across racial groups. Current e-cigarette use was higher in Black girls who identify as lesbian compared to Black girls who identify as heterosexual. The rate was also higher in multiracial girls who identify as lesbian compared to multiracial girls who identify as heterosexual. So therefore, we already know that they're under different. I mean, I'm assuming that they're under stresses because of how they're made and how they're treated in their communities. I would assume. I'm making some assumptions here, Kevin.
Yeah.
Based on the behavior and how people in those communities are treated. And Janine says, duh. Okay. So I guess she agrees with me. All right. On the other hand, white girls who identify as lesbian were found to be at lower risk of current vaping compared to white girls who identify as heterosexual. So there is a difference.
Yeah.
9.1% to 16.1%. That's a big difference. It's 8 points. Among boys, there were no significant interactions between sexual orientation or race or ethnicity in relation to vaping prevalence. I wonder if they included smoking.
Right. Probably not.
In that, because I know for a fact we actually have CDC numbers that prove that homosexual males smoke at higher rates than straight males. Previous surveys of gay and lesbian teens suggest that e-cigarette use might be a coping mechanism to deal with stresses of sexual orientation or gender identity-based discrimination or bullying, or a way to bond with others in their social circle. The author says, however, prior studies have not reported how e-cigarette use prevalence among youth differ at the intersections of sexual orientation, sex, race, and ethnicity.
Mm-hmm. Look, and that's it.
See? Janine had headaches when she was 5 because she was a stressed little child. See? I sympathize.
Yeah. There's a weird ending to that.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Just kind of like we're done. Click.
They didn't want to, they only wanted to give little tidbits of their study so that they could,
I guess,
they could sell memberships
right
to the the actual journal that it's going to be published in. We won't be able to get the full. It'll be like 3 months until I can actually get it through open access.
Yeah.
So.
All right, do the deed.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see how I
know. Before you guys judge this grimacing face that he's got, doesn't make him any prettier. You'll know why once you see it. This is.
I don't want to do this one. I want to do a different one. I don't like this one. This one's got Lester Holt on it. I don't like him.
It's got what?
Lester Holt.
Oh, Jesus. Well.
All right. I downloaded the video, so let's just do that. This makes me mad. A lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, some of you probably already know it's been all over the place, but there was I don't even want to. This leaves a sour. This leaves a bad taste in my mouth, Kevin. Here we go. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to share the news video, and then we'll go from there.
Fui!
He's in here. I heard the door open.
This body camera video released this afternoon goes on to show a Columbus police officer shooting and killing a suspect in the middle of the night while serving a warrant. This case is the third instance in which officers fired at a suspect in the last 8 days. Officers with that division. Hello to you, everyone. I'm Kerry Charles.
And I'm.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of background. So they had an arrest warrant for a guy. They went to his house or his apartment at 2 o'clock in the morning, knocked on the door, and I actually have the 22-minute body cam video. And it shows the cops starting from the parking lot. There's 3 or 4 cop cars there. They're going to serve a warrant on this guy for some minor charges. I mean, not minor, but I think domestic abuse is one, which is not minor. But he hadn't killed anybody. He hadn't, it wasn't a capital crime. I'm not defending every action that this guy ever took. But they were there at 2 o'clock in the morning to serve this guy.
Sarah Johnson, Colleen Marshall has the evening night off, rather. This most recent incident took place around 2:15 this morning in an apartment in the Hilltop. 20-year-old Donovan Lewis was shot once by police and died at the hospital. Police say they were there to serve a felony warrant on Lewis. This afternoon, Columbus police released body cam video from the shooting.
NBC4's Eric Halpern is live outside of Columbus Police headquarters tonight, where a small group of protesters gathered this evening. Eric.
Carrie and Sarah, that group left about a half an hour ago. Mayor Andrew Ginther, Police Chief Elaine Bryant, Public Safety Director Robert Clark, all now asking for patience as this investigation takes place. The investigation is being handled by the Ohio Attorney General's BCI. What you're watching is body camera video from just after 2 Tuesday morning. Columbus police officers are outside an apartment in the 3200 block of Sullivan Avenue.
So they knocked on the guy's door, and there's an 8-minute period where they're standing and they're knocking. They're trying to get in. This is the police, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Police Chief Elaine Bryant says officers were there serving a warrant on 20-year-old Donovan Lewis for improperly handling a firearm, assault, and domestic violence.
So again, improperly handling a firearm, which could be he was waving it around, which is a stupid thing. Probably got, I'm not, again, not justifying his crimes, but I'm also, anyway, he, probably got drunk, waved his gun around, got in a fight with his girl, whatever.
Hey, come to the door! You can hear police knocking and identifying themselves in the video. According to Chief Bryant, 8 to 10 minutes go by before anyone answers. Eventually, 2 men come out and are detained. Neither are Lewis. Police send a dog in. Then they go in and leave.
So they sent the dog in. The dog identified where he was at. So they go in and get the dog. So they know that there's somebody in that room.
The dog. Here's a look in real time of what happens next.
They look in the closet.
We're stopping the video so it does not show Lewis.
All right, I want you to pay attention to how quickly this happens. The door is closed.
Getting shot by the canine officer. During a news conference.
Did you see how quickly that was?
Yep.
Door is closed.
Shot by the canine officer. During a news conference.
Door is closed. Door opens. Bam. No. So they're saying that he is on. He's 3-point stance here on the bed.
Yep.
This arm is supporting him.
Yep.
The left arm, his left arm is supporting him. He's on his knee, and his right arm. Look at his right arm.
Conference Tuesday afternoon, Chief Bryant showed the video in real time.
They're claiming that his right arm, which is still parallel with his body at this point when they've pulled the trigger.
Yeah, he's already shot.
Like his arm is still that he had something in his hand, and his arm was coming towards them.
Time and then frame by frame.
As you're looking at this, frame by frame, there appears to be something.
Right there, he's shot. Right there.
He raises his hand. There's a.
He's already like the moment his left arm leaves the bed, like that, he's already shot by that point.
Part of the video slowed down. You can see Lewis's left arm on the
Brings
bed,
the gun up,
his right
bam.
arm coming over his body. And here's that same moment from the body camera of the officer who fired. No guns were found at the scene, and Chief Bryant said.
And again, if you can see the fuzzy image on the right side there, his arm is still down.
As something like a vape was found on the bed.
Donovan Lewis lost his life. As a parent.
He didn't fucking lose his life. His life was taken.
Exactly.
There is no fucking excuse.
There's no justification.
There is no justification for this. Even if he, like, the only reason I'm not. I would have probably talked about this regardless of whether or not. The only reason I saw this was because it was a vape that was in his hand.
Yep.
You know, I sympathize and I agree with his mother. You know, as a community, I agree with our community. But we're going to allow this investigation to take place.
According to Columbus Police, the officer who shot Lewis is Ricky Anderson, who's been with the division for 30 years. BCI.
So this is a 30-year-old cop, or cop with 30 years of experience that pulled the trigger in a half a second to a second. Didn't have time. His brain didn't have time to process.
My brain didn't.
What he saw, the room was dark. And the only time that he could see was he has a flashlight on the end of his gun. There's, so he pulled the trigger as soon as he saw the guy.
Pretty much.
His brain didn't have time to process the movement of his arm. His arm was still parallel with his body. It wasn't even, it was back.
Is handling this investigation.
When our officers have done the right thing, then we're going to stand with them. And when they do the wrong thing, we're going to hold them accountable. We can't do either of those things right now until this investigation is complete.
Video of this morning's shooting is also on our website.
So,
very careful wording.
Thank God, cops and I love cops, don't get me wrong. We know a lot of law enforcement officers in our world. We have Nick is a retired police officer. I saw a tweet today where Mark is talking about how many of his customers are police officers. Mm-hmm. I support the cops that are doing a good job in a bad situation. But this particular thing, I have the video. I don't want to sit here for 22 minutes and watch the entire video. But the idea that these guys could easily go in. The two guys that they brought out of the apartment, they were following instructions.
Mm-hmm.
They could have easily stood outside of that door and you know, apparently, I mean, looking at the other two guys that were there, it looked like they may have been drinking, may have been a little bit slow on the draw. And I'm not saying that in a gun way. I'm just saying they may have, it took them 8 minutes to answer the fucking door. They were probably asleep. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. They probably a little drunk. The guy in the back room where they found he was sleeping in the bed didn't look like he was dressed. And maybe he was a little bit more drunk or whatever. You know, I've drank a little bit, and sometimes I don't respond as quickly as I could have if I was not drunk. There's a lot of like ways that this could have been handled in a much different way. I don't understand why they feel like they got to serve warrants at 2 o'clock in the morning. So this is a 22-minute long video. So you can see the cops are all staging. They're sitting in their car.
There's only one window.
They're looking around at the vehicles to verify that his car is there.
This is probably her car. Oh, you suck.
So they're walking all over. And I'm going to skip. I'm not going to show the moment they shot him. I'm not going to do that. We're not going to watch somebody get murdered on my fucking show. So they're knocking on the apartment door. They're being very patient. I can hear somebody in there, they're saying. So we're just going to skip
over the door.
You know, they're still being very patient. They're not kicking in the door.
Kill the engine.
They're yelling at people that are driving into the parking lot.
Apartment H, come to the door. Columbus Police.
Identifying themselves. So why are they so patient all this time? So we're at 11 minutes in and they still haven't come out.
Don't move. Don't move.
Right. This is one guy. Here, let's.
No, you got the best spot. You got to duck down. Ain't nothing going through that concrete.
Janine, they were serving an arrest warrant for this guy. He had 3 charges on him. Brandishing a firearm or illegal handling of a firearm, assault, and domestic abuse. So they were not called there. They were there to serve a warrant. I like I said, I don't know why at 2:15 in the morning was the best time to serve this warrant, unless he was trying to hide from them. But he was in his apartment. He was in his home. They could have easily gone at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't know.
Just duck down if you have to. Jack, just don't. Show me your hands. Hands up. Face away from me. Face away from me.
So.
Hands up. Walk backwards to me. Who else is in here? Huh? Oh, shoot. Okay, turn around. Turn around.
I was asleep, he says. So this is
on the bed.
not the guy that they're looking for.
Don't move. Don't move. Well, stop moving. Stop moving. Okay.
See, he sounds a little drunk to me.
You're just being detained real quick, okay? Who else is in here? How many people? Okay, relax. Stop pulling away from me.
So he's, you know, being cuffed.
Another guy on the couch to the left. Looking for Donovan. Where's he at?
Whose apartment is this? Who's your homie?
So this guy was just crashing. He's like, whose apartment is this? This is my homie's apartment. Okay.
Who else is in the apartment? Have a seat real quick. I got you. Have a seat. Where's the knife?
Huh?
I ain't know. I got knives. I got knives on me. It's right there, but it's protection.
In place, man.
Oh, yeah.
Have a seat. Have a seat.
So he had a knife in his pants.
No. Yeah, we'll have him hold that.
Everything's legal in Ohio now.
Is there anybody else in the apartment?
You can hear more
We're
cops.
going to send the dog in here in a second, so if he doesn't come out.
So there's someone else in the apartment. Cool.
Closet to the...
You don't know if somebody's
Okay,
in there
you
or
know
not.
who's in the apartment that you're in. He's going to get bit by a dog. So if he's in there, tell
Columbus Police, if you're inside, make yourself known. Do it now.
If he doesn't come out, he's going to get bit by a dog. Well, that would be better than getting shot and killed.
I don't know who's in the apartment that you're in.
We're going to send the canine in a second.
That's ridiculous. Take a seat. You know who's in your apartment.
That's what I would like to have seen.
Fire canine unit! If you're inside, you'll send out else in this dog! How do you not know? How'd you get in?
All right, there goes the dog.
Hands!
Hits right on the door.
Yeah, there's somebody back there. That dog's going to bite you if you don't come out.
Dog hit on the door, so he knows that somebody's in there.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Somebody got to take it.
He's got.
I can't bite nobody.
They enter the apartment to. It's like, hey, it's in there. He's in there, boss.
Knocking him up.
Here, I'm gonna lock him up. Here. Radio, come get another car. Here. You want to watch that more?
So this gray-haired man is the shooter.
I'm just now worried that the back.
And I'm not pointing out that he has gray hair just to say that gray hair people, because I have gray hair now.
No.
Now I do want to point out that this guy over here on the right, you see how this guy is exercising poor control of his firearm?
Yes.
You see what he's doing there with his arm? He's got his hand. He's looking to his left, and his gun is over to the right, and it's pointed in a random direction. That is poor discipline. That is poor firearm discipline. I'm just saying. Has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that this guy is just holding his gun out like he's not.
Casual.
He's not controlling his firearm.
We're going to send that dog in. Hands.
Now, we've already shown you. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to show. It is on here. I don't want to show it. So I'm going to skip a little bit so that we miss. I don't want to show dead people on my show, Kevin. So I'm gonna play for like a second, and then I'm gonna pause it, and then we're gonna skip to the afterwards. So the door's opening. We know for a fact that the moment the light shines in there, this guy pulls his gun or he shoots the guy.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'm willing to go because I don't have this player on the StreamYard player does not give me fine enough control that I would be comfortable trying. So I'm going to skip like a whole bit here because after the shooting, they go in there, they call the ambulance. The gray-haired dog guy goes and puts the dog in the car.
know
So
where they went.
Those 2 cars that are here, we have people that need detained.
so yeah, he's still on the bed. I don't want to show this or that. This is the ambulance coming.
Make sure you pat him down. Stand up. Ready? 1, 2, 3, out. Take him. Pat him down. He had 1 knife on him.
Okay.
So now, these 2 guys, they said, we're just going to detain you for a minute while we go in there, you know.
We'll be right back.
All right. Hey, got a medic on for you, Donovan. Keep breathing, buddy. Keep breathing.
They're
Smith,
removing
the
them is what
door.
they're doing.
Stay at that door. Hold that scene.
Yeah, no, they got to make room for the paramedics to go up there.
Okay.
So in the background, you hear them talking to Donovan. We've got an ambulance coming for you, Donovan.
Yep.
Your officer support. Yeah, get him out of here.
Yeah. So they drug him out of the apartment, by the way.
Yep.
So they moved an injured guy. So
yeah,
that they injured needlessly. Yeah. So I started the show with the Constitution because I saw these people writing pissy articles, poorly written articles about getting rid of the Constitution, which is the document that holds like the entire framework of our government and society up. It's the thing that lends us protections. And then we have this awful thing happen where it seems like the people that are supposed to be protecting us, some of the people that are protecting us, are maybe ill-equipped to do it. The thought process behind sending people to serve an arrest warrant at 2:15 in the morning, if they had done a minor amount of research, they probably would have found that he is a substance user or is an alcohol that drinks or whatever. And to go through, and I have no other way to describe this other than to have a trigger happy cop. Literal, I mean, I've been in gunfights. I've been shot at and not had a fucking gun to be able to fire back. To be put into that situation and not, things move at the speed of light. Like when you're in that situation, everything's happening so quickly. To serve that little piddly warrant at 2:15 in the morning. Yes, of course, they were felony charges. Illegal handling of a firearm, assault, and domestic abuse. Those are not small things. But the way that this was done and the justification that the officer was trying to use, I saw his hand move, or I saw his arm move, and I saw something in his hand. If it was a gun, you would know it was a fucking gun.
You'd think after 30 years.
As a police officer, you're 30 years of police officering. you've held a gun in your hand enough to know what a fucking gun looks like. Now, if there's an unfortunate vape device out there that is on the market that is shaped like a gun, I would understand. But if it's something like this, you can't confuse this for a gun, Kevin.
No.
Even if it was a big old box mod, you can't confuse that with a gun. And
you didn't have time to be confused.
And to not even say freeze.
No, nothing.
I mean, obviously they did their job by identifying themselves quite loudly for like 8 minutes. When they came into the house, even for more time, they were in there yelling, "This is the police department. We're sending in our dog." Whatever. The dog was out in the house barking. They made enough noise to identify themselves.
And the dog could have done its job. That's my opinion.
They could have opened the door and let the dog in. That's what they threatened to do.
That's what you do. I've seen plenty of ops shows where they've done so.
But
they do give plenty of warning.
In the 1 second of that door opening, between the moment that door opened, because we paused the video. I didn't play that part because, like I said, I'm not showing somebody getting killed on my fucking show. I'm not doing that.
No.
There was not enough time for his brain to process what was going on.
No.
Period. And as an older man with white hair, I hate to say it this way, but he was compensating, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even going to talk about the fact that it was a black guy.
Yep.
Because that was probably the only thing he fucking saw. The only thing that guy saw was a black guy on a bed. That's all he saw.
Yep.
Anyway, that's why I didn't want to. I didn't want to do that story right after.
Yeah.
The constitutional and Kevin, because this breaks my heart. I mean, this is bad. And as a gun-toting redneck conservative, it breaks my heart. I'm not even a conservative, though. I'm sort of I self-identify as a libertarian.
Liberty is in that.
Because, but I'm embarrassed a lot by the Libertarian Party in a lot of places. But I saw Grim Green tweeting the other day that he was looking for stuff to talk about on his show. And it was the day after this happened. And I was like, I would send you a link for this, but I don't know that you want to cover this. This is so I didn't send him a link, and I don't know if he covered this on his show or not. Because his show's way more happier than my show.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Jeanine, good night. Jeanine says she's calling herself an old lady. That's not very.
Yeah, well.
Don't do that to yourself.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Did you see? On a lighter note, did you see that Skip is trying to get revenge on Mark?
I saw a photo of that fine young man, and I was very pleased. Sneaky old broad.
I was glad that he hadn't been killed.
Well, there's no date on this photo. This could have been a year ago. We don't know. I told her she's got to have a guy with the guy with the paper, or I'm not going to really believe for sure.
I was glad that he was still alive and well, because I feel like one day she's gonna destroy our joy by killing our brother Mark.
Let's just assume.
and I would not like that to happen.
She got a snap on him, which is funny.
And I'm sure he doesn't care. I'm sure he doesn't care.
Well, no.
Hey, take my picture. I don't care.
You don't give two shits about it. Cranky old bro.
He's like, the only time he's on the internet is when he steals her phone to share his art, to share his art for us.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I'm actually scanning her. She tweets so much I have to scan. She tweets like 80 times a day.
I know. It's addictive.
So I'm scrolling just to get to the picture of Mark.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but she's not even here.
I know.
She doesn't love us anymore.
She's probably cussing at us. Oh, did you see the thing I tagged you in on her?
Yes.
Somebody was in Marvel, and I was like, well, he can go, but
I probably, even if I were to go, I have to go the opposite direction. I have to go north, because if I'm in DC, I have to go to Pennsylvania to see my mother.
No, I mean for the relative that works at Marvel.
Yeah, he works. That would be south. I would have to escort her south.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And if I have time and I'm there, I would have to go visit my mommy.
If you were in any condition to do so after Skip got hold of you, right?
Well, yeah, I would make sure that I stay on the other side of the room. So
you're going to be respectful.
So that she can't punch me in the face.
Not that she would.
She might try.
She might swing. I don't know.
She might try.
She might swing.
My mom lives near Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Altoona.
She lives in Bedford County, Pennsylvania. Which is, if you draw a line between Philly or Pittsburgh and Philly, right in the middle of that, on that same line. She lives about 30 miles north of the Maryland border. Within 30 or 40 minutes, you can actually be in like 3 different states from where my mother lives. She can be in West Virginia, or Maryland in like 30 minutes. Yeah. It's about 45 minutes east of Johnstown.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 45 minutes south of State College, Pennsylvania. I can't find this fucking picture.
Look up.
I know I sent it to myself on Instant Messenger.
Oh, okay.
Because I was gonna put it through my photo magic application to make it all cool looking, but I didn't. So, ow. But anyway, Kevin, that was the joy of our show tonight. We
don't for one second think that other people aren't trying to take away your rights, because they are. That's my final thoughts. I don't get what? What?
There is one more.
There is?
There is one. Right. Well, this is the Constitution Part 2.
All right.
So this one is really fast though, because there's only part of this that I want to read. So this is another piece, not the same piece, another piece titled "Our Undemocratic Constitution," and this is from University of Pittsburgh School of Law. So Bruce Mill, I think it's supposed to say Miller. Bruce Miller, a professor emeritus of law at Western New England University School of Law, discusses the current state of the United States highest court. So this first paragraph, this is all we need to really pay attention to. For nearly a century, many progressives have seen the Constitution and especially the Supreme Court as allies in an effort to make our political and economic life more democratic. For a long time, this trust seemed warranted. The initially reactionary New Deal court came to embrace the power of the national government to limit corporate power through administrative law. When the Warren Court won progressive hearts by standing against Jim Crow in Brown versus the Board of Education and protecting the right to marry across the color line in Loving versus Virginia, and there's a really good movie called Loving. It's really good about that. Yeah,
beautiful movie.
The court further rewarded our allegiance with its 1965 decision in Griswold versus Connecticut, setting aside 18th century constitutionalism to protect married women's access to secure and private contraception. These fundamental cases led to the recognition of reproductive autonomy as a fundamental right in Roe versus Wade. No, that's not what. The only way to be granted a right is for it to be passed as a law. That's not the right language. From a legal law professor, this is not good language. Eventually, to the full protection of marriage equality in Obergefell versus Hodges. By the time of the Obergefell case in 2015, the court had made clear that the Constitution protects the most intimate and personal choices a person may make in a lifetime, choices central to dignity and autonomy, and was subsequently codified as a law by Congress in the Marriage Equality Act.
Mm-hmm.
So you see what they did there was the court said that it is constitutional for people to be able to make choices for themselves about who they marry. And then Congress went right behind there and passed it as a law so that it became a right for people to marry whoever the fuck they wanted to marry, which is, I support that.
It should be.
But they did not do the same thing for Roe, which does not make any fucking sense to me. Anyway, the right to make these choices is, of course, a core attribute to free citizenship in a constitutional democracy. But now, with 3 decisions that that closed its catastrophic 2021-22 term, the Supreme Court has severed its link to progressive politics. So, the Supreme Court is fine and should have all the power it wants as long as it does what we want it to do. When it stops doing what we want it to do, then we should limit its authority, is what they're saying here. So they're blah, 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 blah. So they're talking about the abortion, blah blah blah. The decision was already triggered an open season on American women's ability to control their lives. What it did was it said the states have to do that, or the U.S. Congress can do that. If they pass a fucking law. By reading the freedom to make intimate and personal choices out of the Constitution, which is not what it did, Judge Alito's opinion for the court also signaled a renewed judicial attack on the equal citizenship of LGBTQ people, which it did not do. This is just people saying, oh, well, if they do this, they're going to do that too.
Yep.
It's like when the Republicans and the gun people, I'm a gun person, but I've never said this. The government's coming to take my guns away. I know it. And we actually have evidence of politicians saying, we're coming to take your guns away.
They did it during Katrina.
But, I mean, even the guy here in Texas, Beto O'Rourke, there's video of him saying, I'm coming for your guns.
Yep.
He said it.
Yep.
But I guarantee you, you're not going to find any politician, a Republican politician, saying we're coming to take your gay marriages away.
No.
If they were going to do it, they wouldn't tell you they were going to do it.
Nope.
They'd just do it. But then the Supreme Court would say, no, you can't do that because you have a law and it's constitutional. So we can't do that.
Yeah.
So there's a whole but so essentially, I'm not reading this whole fucking thing, but essentially what they said in the first two paragraphs is we were good with the Supreme Court having the authority that it had because we agreed with what it was doing.
And now we don't like it.
Now we don't like it because they're making decisions that we don't like.
You're going to make my head hurt again. Listen, when Homicidal said that this is sad or whatever it was he said, where I said I appreciate them doing it because it proves that we're two little chuckleheads, in nowhere land going, you dumb motherfuckers. How can you keep doing stupid things? What do you care?
My fear, Kevin, is that people don't actually understand
their rights.
Well, they don't understand how the government works.
Well, I'm less.
This is basic stuff that they should have learned in school,
right?
About the civics. I mean, I was required to take civics in U.S. government twice. We took it in the 6th grade, and then we took it again in high school, my junior year in high school. So that we knew what the Constitution is. We had to actually memorize the preamble, right? You remember having to memorize the preamble to the Constitution, We the People?
I did not.
We had to memorize that shit.
Should have.
Now, the other thing that Kevin and I were discussing about the differences in schooling when we were in school, even between the two of us, even though, he is like 30 years older than me.
Yeah, mine was a one-room schoolhouse, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was saying that he had contact with a younger person that is currently in school and was told that the school that he went to, the school that this kid currently goes to, I should say.
No, camp. Camp, not school.
Oh,
camp.
The Boy Scout camp.
Camp, right.
Has a gun range where kids are taught how, they get their rifle merit badge or their, firearms merit badge. And then I said, well, when I was a kid, the NRA came to the school and we had gun safety lectures when I was in school. But he said they didn't come to his school.
No.
And then I said, the Gideons, because we were talking about my little pocket Constitution, and he asked what the cover was, and I said, well, it's the fake leather or whatever, the same stuff that the Gideons would come out and hand out New Testaments. It's the same feel of the cover of like the little New Testament Bibles that they used to hand out. And I said they came to our school and handed out New Testaments when I was in school. And he said, oh, no, they didn't do that when he was in school. But that's a regional difference between being educated in the deep South versus being educated in Massachusetts or Ohio. Or whatever.
From Massachusetts.
But where did you go to elementary school?
Briefly, first 2 years there. No, 3 years. First.
So you were like 5 or no, you were probably 8 years old.
8, 9, yeah. When I came out here, yeah.
So you're not technically from Massachusetts.
Correct.
I mean,
I don't like
if you've lived like 80 years of your life in Ohio,
77,
then you're an Ohioan.
I'm a Buckeye, yeah. I don't want to be a masshole, but technically.
No, you're definitely an asshole for sure.
So when you don't understand your rights and you're watching them being taken away and you don't care, that's what's going to happen. They're just going to do that. So when you go from a individual level of Jesus, this thing's working, everybody should know about it. And then you tell everybody, and then they all know about it. And then other people go, well, we don't like that. We don't want you to have that. In fact, we're going to ban, restrict, tax, and make your lives a living hell. If you have a business, your freedom of trade is taken from you, and it has been by quite a few people that are or were in the chat and in other chats and other shows. So my individual freedom's gone. Their individual freedom to run a business is gone, and my choice is being threatened. So where's my right?
So
it's not a law.
To draw the line between the constitutional articles and the vaping.
Yeah.
So the justification in both of these articles is we need to limit a branch of government because it's making decisions for me that I don't like. And that we need to impose our will upon other people. So if if you can't see the vaping part of this conversation, the whole point is that we've been trying to, for 7 years or however long we've been on here, is to teach you A, how the government works, B, how to critically think, and you, the listeners and the viewers of the show, understand this for sure. The will of the many should never be imposed upon the few. Right? So that's what all these checks and balances are for. Obviously, majority rules, but they need to be limited so that they don't victimize the few.
Less government.
Yes.
What did Reagan say? We're from the government and we're here to help, or something.
No,
like that.
the most frightening words in the English language are "I'm from the government and I'm here to help."
That's whatever he said. Yeah, that.
Yeah. Reagan's 9 words. That's actually a speech. That's a really good. Earlier, I said go to the YouTube channel for the Republic or the Reagan Library, and they have all of his speeches on there. Yeah, you can find that one. From the government, and I'm here to help.
I do not want Nancy Pelosi in my bedroom, and I do not want Nancy Pelosi near my vape.
I don't want Nancy Pelosi anywhere near me at all.
Nor do I want anyone else anywhere near me at all.
Because I promise you, if she was near me, I probably would not be able to prevent myself from saying or doing something quite bad.
You'd probably pee on her, wouldn't you? You just would, wouldn't you?
I don't know if I'd whip my penis out and spray her with urine, but...
Well, I wasn't trying to go that far, but yeah.
You're just saying I would pee on her. The only way that could happen is if I exposed myself.
She was
and
trying to give you a hug or something.
Oh, no.
I don't need them.
You already know. You know that I don't do hugs, right? You already know.
I know you don't. That's probably why you'd pee. Like an excited little dog.
I might spit on her.
Oh, see, that's not nice.
All right. So I'm only showing this just because I think it's hilarious. And Kevin and I mentioned this to each other. So I think everybody is quite aware that Joe Biden gave a speech yesterday.
Hang on, let me get my hat.
Joe Biden gave a speech, and there is there's some bad optics here.
And if I could notice it and tell it to Patrick before he said it, then boy, goddamn it, it's bad.
So I'm gonna put this on screen. So in most of the pictures of this speech, and if you watch the video, you don't see these blue lines on the sides over here. It was framed for TV with this red background, and let's see if I can find a more better example. Here, I found a better one already. Open image in new tab. All right, let's zoom.
What did you say? Forcing the will upon people? What? Because Jesus.
So okay, here. This is a better. This is what it looked like on TV.
You know, my wife has Alzheimer's, and
So-
I don't like this public display of stupidity.
So visually,
this is bad. This is just bad.
Visually, this is not good optics for like. And I said to Kevin, I said, now pre-show, like when we do our show, Kevin and I are in the back room. I've got him on, you know, if there's something wrong with the way he looks, I'll say, hey, you know, move your
Wipe you
camera
over.
or turn the light on or do something, right? So
Oh,
that
yeah.
we're framing. So, you know, yeah. So, hey, you know, you look too dark or whatever. So I damn well know that before this speech happened, there was a camera operator that was putting this into the frame, that was doing this. They probably had somebody stand at the podium so that they could get their focus. And nobody said,
Nobody.
is it such a good idea to have these bright red panels in the background?
Well, they didn't know what the speech was.
I mean, just visually, because this is what, I mean, obviously the criticism on the social medias is that this looks like a specific historical.
Oh, was it something that was really discussed?
Yes.
Oh,
There
shit,
are
I didn't know
people-
that.
There are all over Twitter. There are people saying this looks like a Hitler speech, or, you know, just looking at it.
Right. Okay.
And then obviously somebody on social media actually took the video and put some swastikas in those red fields and put a little Hitler mustache on Joe Biden and made a little video clip with Hitler playing in the background, the audio of a Hitler speech with Joe Biden's visuals with a little creative editing.
God.
Now, the context of his speech was also not well thought out. Like, he spent like an hour long speech. Like, he gave this whole speech, and the entire time he was basically saying, if you don't agree with me, then you are a threat to democracy in our country.
It sounds like the Sinclair video.
Like, he gave a speech and he mentions Donald Trump and the MAGA people like 50 times during the speech, and said, if you support Donald Trump, you are a threat to democracy in our country. Now, this is the standing president of the United States giving a speech from a historic U.S. He was at in Philadelphia at the Liberty Independence Hall. This is where they signed the Declaration of Independence.
That's ironic, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And his entire speech was targeting 48 to 49% of the country and saying, you are a threat to our democracy.
Brainwashing at its finest.
I think that was not the way to
Get reelected.
Like he started the speech out saying that he wants to unify the country, and then spends the rest of the speech drawing a line and saying, if you're on that side of the line, then you are a threat to our country. I mean, Lord. I don't like him. I didn't like Trump either, though. So, like, I'm in a group, in the group of people that are like holding our hands up in the air, going, "Please give me a better option."
Yep. I don't even like you, and we agree about this.
But logically, if you were trying to unify, if you were trying to get some support away from your opponent, you wouldn't spend this much time.
Ex-opponent, former opponent.
Well, he's going to run again if he's not convicted.
Well, that's a possibility, but is this a preemption to that possibility? This is pretty.
But just the idea that he stood with a red background and gave an angry speech calling for half of the country to hate the other half of the country.
Now, see, I like half of the audience, and I don't like half of the audience. How does that bode for all of you? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't get it.
I mean,
I
Robin
love
and
my
Steve
audience.
and Tom and Troop and Janine, I love you, but the rest of you motherfuckers in here, I don't like you because, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like I watched the whole fucking speech, and I'm just like, you've just wasted. Instead of talking about,
I'm glad
all the good things that you could be talking about America, you know, coming out of the pandemic, that our economy is starting to possibly have some signs of life, that, you know, talk about good things. You went up there for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and basically said, half of you motherfuckers out there, you're threats to the freedom of our country.
You think about going to just a musical show, rock show, country show, whatever, and the guy saying this, they would mob them. You're inciting a riot. Is what you're doing.
You're insulting your audience.
Oh
I mean, I'm just like, I was just baffled by somebody should have said, hey, maybe we should not put the red background up there. I mean, if you've ever seen the movie V for Vendetta, about a fascist fascist dictatorial leader.
Oh my God.
You could actually put this scene right in that movie, because they had the red is the color. I mean, assuming the color of fascism on a lot of these movies. I mean, I can't believe that somebody said, you know, maybe we should make that a white background or a blue background, or
Joe, you're having audio
just
difficulty.
show the raw stone. I mean, I don't know, but this red is going to be used against us. Yeah, and I already saw a video. Like I said a while ago, I saw a video on Twitter earlier of Joe Biden done up as a Nazi.
If they didn't know the content of the speech, which they probably didn't, then maybe it didn't come up in their head. But good Lord.
I'm just, as a visual guy, like I learned through visuals. I saw that and I'm just like,
red
I have
creates
to watch
anger.
the speech now because this is so bad.
I mean, this is old school advertising. Red is not a good thing it's an anger color. You know, you need purple or blue. White is neutral.
Yeah.
White background, period. Daylight, preferably. It's a very weird thing.
Here's an actual tweet in, like, he's walking it back. So the press guy says, do you consider all Trump supporters to be a threat to the country? I don't consider any Trump supporter a threat to the country. But he just gave a fucking speech.
And I got to go now. Oh, good Lord.
So, there was a Canadian thing I wanted to mention too that has nothing to do.
Uh-oh.
So, I just read somewhere, and I could be wrong, but okay, so they have did they just pass medically assisted suicide, like euthanasia in Canada?
Huh?
I just saw a story where they were talking about euthanasia, and that and this report that I just showed is about euthanasia, medically assisted deaths, and how much it could save the healthcare spending of Canada.
Yeah.
But the one that and I'm just doing this from memory because I don't remember where the article is now, but they were talking about approving medically assisted death or whatever for mentally ill people and minors.
When?
It was this week. I read the article.
Oh, this week. I remember Kevorkian.
And no, yeah, but that was here in America, and he was, Dr. Death. But I could have sworn that I saw an article somewhere, and they were talking about making it legal for teens who are suffering from depression. Not dementia, depression.
Wow.
To have medically assisted, medical.
Wow.
See if I can find it real quick.
Yeah,
this one disturbed me.
I wouldn't want that. That's me, Kev. I don't agree with that.
Let me see if I can find it real quick. This was 2 days ago.
Wow. With kids.
Yeah. So, yeah, in Canada, euthanasia for mature minors.
Okay.
In 2016, Canada legalized euthanasia through the euphemistically called medical aid in dying, or MAID. Since passing, the number of Canadians who either enthusiastically or cautiously support the practice has raised from 75 to 80%. Blah, blah, blah. This is not the same article, but it did say youth. Next year, euthanasia will likely be extended to so-called mature minors at a time when so many are being made toward suicide prevention amongst teenagers. They will be taught that death is an acceptable way out of mental anguish. So the story that I had read was saying that depression was an acceptable diagnosis for medically assisted death. And I'm like, what?
No.
I mean, I get it if you've got cancer and it's been diagnosed and you're at end stage and you want to die,
your way.
I go out your way. I have no problem with that. But depression is treatable if you have people that care about you and are willing to help you. You should seek treatment, not an end. But yeah, that caught my eye, and I wanted to ask before Janine left because she's my Canadian regular.
Wow.
But Mallory says if aliens come and try to abduct her, she's going to consider it a rescue mission.
It's well.
It is turning to shit, folks. It is turning to shit.
I bet we never see any more red behind Biden. Jesus, that's so sad.
I mean, I just glanced over here, and Adolf Hitler is trending on Twitter right now. Oh, might as well, Kevin.
Don't care about their rights, but boy, they want to get all over this.
Here.
Oh, God.
We'll show this as comedy. I'm showing this as comedy. I'm not saying that I agree, but I did mention this. So this is it right here.
Oh, Lord.
Des Volkes, gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
Wow.
So, just making the background red gave them fodder. I mean, I can't believe that you predicted this and you hadn't even seen this.
I know. I didn't know. No, I did not.
I do want to say that Joe Biden looks a lot like Alex Trebek with less hair, with a little brush mustache. You see that?
Freaking sad.
He does look kind of like Alex Trebek, right? In it, right?
Yeah, he does. Sadly.
But yeah, little Photoshop action here and some creative editing, and you've got, and this was all created by people, that are seeing. I mean, I saw it. You saw it. So yeah.
Wow.
So let's see what this one. Let's unmute this one.
And now, America must choose to move forward or to move backwards, to build a future or obsess about the past, to be a nation of hope and unity and optimism, or a nation of fear, division, and of darkness. MAGA Republicans have made their choice.
So, do you see that?
And now, America must choose to move forward or to move backwards.
So, this is good. We're going to be constructive, to move forward and not backwards.
Right.
To build a future or obsess about the past.
To build a future or obsess about the past. So you think, this is going to be, this is going to be a good,
To be a nation of hope and unity and optimism.
A nation of hope, unity, and optimism.
Or a nation of fear, division, and of darkness.
Division, he specifically said right there. I want to be the president of unity. Wow. What's the next thing he says?
MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger. They thrive on chaos. They live not in the light of truth, but in the shadow of lies. But together we can choose a different path.
So, is it one or the other, dude? Are you wanting to work together? Are you wanting to be, or are you going to draw a line and say, he says MAGA Republicans, but that's the tenor, that's the flavor, of this whole speech.
It's so sad.
Like, I want to, we want to build a good future and not look towards the past. Want to, have a unified country, blah blah blah. But these assholes over here,
right,
that disagree with me,
and you, of course, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm a, I have voted Republican in the past, but I did not vote for Donald Trump, not one time. But yeah, so I just, that was a little bit of comic relief just to show you the.
Can't think for yourselves.
Yeah, the obviously here, the visually, he's got his fists up in the air. He's got this red background. This just looks optically, as a visual person, I'm telling you,
this is not audience.
This cannot be positive. This cannot be a positive speech. He's not giving. I mean, can't be.
I'm assuming he had an audience.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not many, but maybe 100 people could fit in that room.
Right.
It's not a big. I mean, it is.
Press,
it was big enough to hold the First Continental Congress, but it's not a huge room.
Wow. No.
But yeah, I'm like, dude, yo.
With today's technology, you should have plenty of lighting. Period.
I mean, he could have done so much better than to have that. And the thing is if it was a bright room with a red background like that, it would have been different.
Right. Yeah. Curtains or whatever. Yeah.
But
curtains.
Again, you've got this darkness. There's a lot of blackness. And then these swatches of red.
Well, is it a ploy to make him look powerful, or did these people really have any clue?
I just don't know, dude. I mean, visually, it doesn't it's just. I mean, I'm wearing a red shirt. That does everything in red is not evil, but just the way it was lit, I'm sure they have media people there,
right? Yeah.
Like media handle press secretaries and consultants that are like, yo, dude, no, we can't do this. You got to lighten it up. Let's throw some white lights in here. Let's, fill that background so that the whole thing doesn't look like blood red and blackness.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, yo. I think they're sabotaging you on purpose now.
Right.
Oh, somebody actually tagged me on Twitter so that I could add this.
There you go. Yeah, I tagged you. Oh, somebody else tagged. Good.
So that it was at the top of my alerts.
Yeah. Thank you.
So yeah.
Whoever that was.
Hey, there's our brother Mark.
He's our hero.
He looks about your age, Kevin.
He might be. I don't know. He's got to put up with her, so I don't know. Scared to ask. We owe him a soda or something, though.
Yeah, I did have an argument with somebody on a completely unrelated thread about.
Oh, good.
World War II, and it was about. Oh, I remember now. It was a conversation about somebody was upset that we Americans in English we call boats she.
We call what?
Boats or ships.
Yeah.
She. Like, sailors refer to the ships that they're on as she.
Yeah.
And that they're like, it's time that we change this because it's derogatory towards women. And I'm like, how is it derogatory towards women? So then somebody said, well, Germans call boats he. So, it's proper. Either is proper because the Germans call boats he. And I said, no, we're talking about English. We're talking about English. And in the English language, we call boats she. It is a proper, that is the proper pronoun unless they change the rules. Right. So then I said, they said, well, if the Germans do it, it's proper in Germany. I said, but we're not in Germany. We're talking about English. I said, look, I said, if the Germans were to invade Poland, would you follow them into Poland?
Right.
So then somebody said, well, the last time the Germans went into Poland and we followed them into Poland and blah, blah, blah. I was like, U.S., there was not one time in World War II did U.S. soldiers step foot in Poland.
Wow.
U.S. servicemen never stepped foot in Poland. And then they were like, well, we were the first people to liberate, because somebody typed Auschwitz in the chat room, and Auschwitz is in Poland, by the way.
Right.
That we liberated Auschwitz, that we were the first people, and I'm like, absolutely incorrect. Poland was liberated by the Soviets, by Russia.
Right.
By the time we got to Berlin, so if you look at a fucking map, you'll see where our guys were and the Russians were and where the Brits were and how we all converged onto Berlin at the same time within days of each other.
Yeah.
We all converged. And there was at no point did we hopscotch over Berlin to get to Poland.
Right.
So Auschwitz was liberated by the Polish. Now, we, the U.S., liberated 3 other concentration camps in Germany.
Right.
And the Brits liberated 2 others in Germany. And all of the Polish ones were liberated by the Germans. And this guy went into an egregiously long argument with me that there was no way for us to know where every American soldier was fighting in World War II.
Oh.
And I'm like, there are fucking encyclopedias of troop movements. We know where every soldier or every division of American soldiers were.
I was going to say I can get a couple history.
I have
people,
volumes of World War II history books here.
I don't know where they all were, but I know somebody does.
Do you think that we didn't know where our soldiers were?
We knew where our men were. Period.
And after action reports, we know, even if we didn't know where they were at that moment, we knew where they were afterwards because they came back and filled out paperwork to say we were here and here and here and here and here.
Within a 5-mile radius, they were probably pretty accurate.
But people will argue on Twitter and act like they're an expert. And I'm like, look, my grandfather fought in World War II. He was in the Battle of the Bulge. And then he's like, well, just because he was in the Battle of Bulge, blah, 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 you're not even talking about the same front. And I'm like, just because I mentioned that my grandfather fought in World War II does not mean that I only looked at the Battle of Bulge.
I've never been to Key West. I never ever in my life, but boy, I got the shirt.
I'm like, dude, you can read. There are books, right? You understand.
There are
books that tell you. And if you know for a fact that we never stepped foot in Poland. Now, there were Polish Americans that were fighting for Poland.
See, okay. Well, that could be the
confusion. But they were wearing Polish uniforms. They were Polish Americans that had gone to war before we did in World War II. Obviously, we had finished World War I, and World War I had left a sour taste in American mouths, and we stayed out of World War II for a very long time.
Yep.
We actually signed an agreement saying that we would not participate in World War II. We had, I don't know if you guys know this, but we had signed an agreement with Germany saying we're not going to come over there. You leave us alone, we'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
And we didn't participate in the first couple of years of World War II because we didn't want to do it. We had just lost a whole bunch of guys in World War I, and we were not gonna stick our nose in other people's business.
Yep.
And then now all of a sudden we stick our nose in everybody's fucking business. But yeah, I was like, dude, there are books.
There are books.
There are books and maps that show you where everybody was at.
Get a pencil, write it down.
And he's like, there's no way to know. And I'm like, if you see how far away the American front was where we were at in Germany, and where Poland is, there's hundreds of miles in between. I don't think, even if we got lost, even if we had some soldiers get lost, that they were going to be hundreds of miles away from where they. I was like, dude, come on.
Logistics is logistics, and there's no other way around.
People, just even like vaping, like people will argue about shit.
Yeah.
We had a guy in the chat room 2 weeks ago. Remember, Kevin? Guy came in the chat room, was trying to argue with us about vaping because he had read a pamphlet.
Was Bruni or was that with me? I don't remember that one.
That might have been when Bruni was.
Might have been Bruni. All right, I don't remember that.
Yeah, there was some random dude just showed up, and I said, "Oh, there's a new name, blah blah blah," and he's like, "Oh, vaping is bad for you," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Look, dude."
Okay, then.
And people in the chat room were trying to educate him kindly. We didn't attack him. We didn't, we weren't trolling him. We weren't like saying insulting things. But yeah, I was like, come on.
I had a
think for yourself.
I got to put this mildly. I had an invite on someone to participate in a thread, and I did it really, really gently so far. And so far, I haven't seen any results one way or the other. But it's something that I haven't had in a while. But yeah, sometimes people just don't know, and to continue your tirade of wrong when there's clear evidence to the contrary is pretty sad. And I've been in enough Twitter fights and stupidity to know better. But your friend there, Tariq, whatever his name is. I muted him, but I can see like when somebody else says something on Twitter, which will lead.
Yeah. The only time I see anything from Tahir Turk is when one of you fuckers responds to his nonsense on Twitter. Like I don't see him until it says, "Oh, Mallory."
Yeah.
Mallory commented on, and I'm like, just
Mallory ripped
ignore
his
him.
It should just say stuff like that, though.
Just ignore this guy, please. Don't, because it shows up on my Twitter feed because I, follow you. You know? And I don't want to see that douchebag on my Twitter feed because it's stupid. Like he has like 100 followers.
I don't remember.
But every time one of you guys that has a massive following responds to his shit, then all of your followers see it. And he gets more traction. He gets more views, more clicks or whatever.
But you can't let him lie.
He can lie to his 100 followers. It's okay. But when you give him your platform by responding to his nonsense.
I know. It's a fine line of stupidity either way.
Yo, dude, just ignore the idiocy. We got way bigger fish to fry. We got fucking people getting killed in their apartment.
Yeah.
While they're in their underwear.
And you're right.
For holding a vape pen in their hand.
You're right earlier when you said we'd have never probably seen that. I may have because I'm here in Ohio. It's Columbus.
Well, yeah, maybe.
40 miles away. But I would have never known it otherwise without the word vape in it. Which
the only reason it came across my feed was because of the word vape.
Because it shocked me. It actually shocked me that was on there.
And then obviously watching the fucking video.
Yeah.
I watched what the news station posted with their small segment of it. But then downloading the whole thing, what are they called? The cop cam or whatever. And watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just now, y'all know what I used to do, so I'm used to seeing dead people. Like I have patients that die all the time. Not while I'm in the room, but
you're still human and you're not tainted.
No, but I'm horrified by it, obviously. But I no longer. It's not the first person I've ever seen get shot.
Right.
But I'm not going to fucking perpetuate it and show it to all you.
But this is the example that we've been trying to say to these dumb fucks that a 14-year-old kid's going to be walking down the street with a vape and he's going to get hurt. I'm amazed it hasn't happened. I'm glad it hasn't happened. But for fuck's sake. The guy's coming out of a stupor, or if he was a drunk, or whatever the case was, just not justified, and it's very, very tragic.
Yeah, okay. This is that video that we just showed you.
Yeah.
The parts of, obviously, is a direct result of this.
Yeah.
It is the next step
Yep.
in this Twitter thread that I have.
It is.
I mean, they didn't go there to arrest him because he was vaping. Don't get me wrong.
No, it isn't the cause of, right. It's just another
vaping is the justification for these abuses here,
up to and including.
But the lack of empathy is endemic. The ill thought, the lack of forethought, I guess is the best way to say it. The lack of forethought that these fucking cops had to go and serve a warrant at 2 with there's no imminent threat, by the way.
Right.
I could understand serving an arrest warrant if there was imminent threat.
Yep.
If they thought that something bad was going to happen, if they didn't go arrest him at 2:15 in the morning, that makes sense. Oh, well, the girl is at the house that the domestic abuse.
Something's
is
going
at
to
the
happen.
house. We need to go there now to protect her from future abuse or from further abuse. Go and get that motherfucker now. Yeah. But use your fucking head, by the way. But there was no threat of imminent harm. They could have gone at 9 o'clock or at 8 o'clock when the sun was up, when their heads were on straight. But to go at 2:15 in the morning to display all of the patience that they displayed for the 10 minutes waiting for somebody to answer the door
with a dog,
the additional 4 or 5 minutes with the dog in the apartment, and then just to in a split second shoot a guy dead in the bed.
No,
it doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
No.
But all right, we're rehashing shit that we already got pissed off about earlier, so I'm not gonna. Yeah. Who's got brainworms?
The breeding of tobacco controls.
Yeah. How do they breed these people? To hear Joel ants. They have all the same amount of delusion and anti-science agenda.
They put them in a petri dish with nicotine, and then they add mice to it, and then something about an octopus. I don't remember. I don't know the exact formula.
They have these machines that they go to tobacco control school, and they sit them in a chair, and they tie them to the chair, and they put these things in their eyes to keep their eyes from closing, and all they do is play video of tobacco control commercials.
Yeah.
For like hundreds of hours so that they can absorb all of that brainwashing. And then that way, when they untie them and then they take, all they do is regurgitate the same nonsense.
They let them loose. Yep.
Yep. That's how it's done.
Clown school. That's the other place. There's two places. Clown school is the other one.
The brainwashing, the washing of brains.
Yeah.
Brains. Oh, you know what? I found a video. Give me 1 second before we go. Go to my gallery on my phone. I have the phone that folds in half.
Yeah.
Did Jeffrey just message me?
I don't know. He was here earlier.
I know. I just got a thing. Maybe because my phone was asleep, and I just woke it up that I'm getting all my alerts. Videos. Where did it go? I have tons of videos on my phone that I need to get rid of. Oh, there it is.
We don't care about your Pornhub.
No. This is even worse. This is even worse. I'm going to message it to Messenger.
To yourself.
Will it let me message it to myself?
I've done that. I've had to.
I do it all the time, but from that app, it's not letting me send it as a message. Give me a second here. Where's my instant messenger?
Oh, yeah.
I have to go to instant messenger. I'm going to go to myself. I have to type my name in. Patrick. There I am. I'm going to go over here to that. Really?
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 Yep.
It's a short video of Stan.
Okay.
And I just saw it in my gallery from a while ago. And I'm like, oh, I need to add this to my show reel. I need to add this to my show reel so that I can play it whenever I want, because I like to mess with My enemy. What did you just do? Kevin just went away. Did you see that? That's not cool, Kev. Running away. Running away. I think he froze or something. Wow, there it is. There. Now I can give you a quick video. Stan. Well, yeah. Show in folder. Is it in downloads? Yeah. Okay.
See.
Now I got it. I got it. Let's see. I'm going to put this in the show reel. Doo-doo-doo. Bear with me, people. I will figure this shit out. Huh?
Better be fully dressed.
Well, I hope Stan is fully dressed.
Ugh.
I would be disturbed if he wasn't.
To confuse the public about science, to confuse scientists about science. What about that? What about that? What about that? What about that?
Oh. Oh my God! Thanks for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep that. That's gonna go right there next to the crab, and to AOC.
Confusing scientists about science.
Yeah, that's. We do this one.
Who taught you how to do this stuff?
You, all right? I learned it by watching you.
To confuse the public about science, to confuse scientists about science.
Oh my God. The fucking shit show.
And then throw this in there. Yeah, we got all
That
sorts.
was me when I was in my 20s. Or
I have video of him talking about boys' underwear smelling like cigarettes somewhere.
Yeah, you got it.
And I got to figure out where I have it, because apparently it's not named. I don't know, what I named it.
It seems he has an infatuation with the teen boys or something.
With boys' underwear, for sure. It's kind of
guess.
disturbing to me, but yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's actually quite frightening to me. But yeah, I gotta figure out where I put it, because it's gonna drive me crazy.
Scientists are confused about science.
Because he did it. He
doesn't really think about what he says, does he?
No,
He doesn't have to.
It's worrisome. It's definitely worrisome.
I guess.
I have so much shit like on my computer, videos and stuff that are just not named properly.
Yep.
It's my fault.
Yep.
But I will find that, because I really want to have that on my show reel, so that I can make fun of him.
Yes.
Because you know how I like to make fun of him. So what is your final thoughts, Kevin?
Stop taking for granted your rights. Realize what you have, what you want to have, and what you don't need in your life being interfered with. That's my thoughts. Because they want to interfere with your life.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, he is a special kind of creepy troop.
I'm concerned on a daily basis, but it's so frightening to me right this minute that that we have people that don't understand how the government works, and trying to decide for you, making your decisions for you, that they should never be allowed to have. And we shouldn't just relinquish that to them
ever.
So, when I spend an hour and 20 minutes talking about the Constitution, there's a reason why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to piss you off. I'm not doing it to bore you. I'm doing it so that you understand what people are willing to do. Mm-hmm. And these people are willing to force, you a square peg into a round hole. And they don't care if they hurt you or not. They don't care if you're happy about it, if you're willing to just hand it over to them. They're going to take and take and take and take and take until you stand up and say, no, I'm not going to let you do that anymore. So, just you can't let them take stuff away from you, because the more they take, they're just going to keep taking.
I will not comply.
Yes. Don't let them have your freedom. Oh shit.
What?
I found one. This is just on a side note before we leave. One more old joke that we're gonna play again that we haven't played in a while.
I'm Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. This is Muppet Labs, and I'm tickled pink to announce our solution to the banana problem. As you know, once removed from the bunch, bananas cannot be reinserted. This results in extra bananas lying around underfoot, where they can be hazardous to your health. Such problems disappear with our new electric banana sharpener. Say goodbye forever to dull bananas. That's all for today from Muppet Labs. I'm Dr. Bunsen.
Is that Bullwinkle?
No, that's Dr. Bunsen Honeydew from the Muppets.
Oh, God. That's even worse. Who did that?
I did that. I made that video.
Oh, my God. Poor Jerry.
I did that.
Poor dumbass Jerry.
So.
No,
man, I didn't realize that I had the ability to do this.
Now I got Stan in my head and Jerry in my head. Thanks for that.
I did it all for you, Kevin. I did it all for you. I just found a better way to scan my media. I didn't realize I could do this way. I might be able to find that video much quicker now.
Just wow.
Wow. But anyway, we love you. We'll see you in 7 days, maybe, if I decide not to take another.
Happy Holiday Monday for those of you.
Yes, it's Labor Day. I don't have to work on Monday. Kevin never has to work because he's lazy.
Be good.
I started tonight's show with Mark. Let's end the show with Kathleen.
Yeah. I love that Mark video.
Yeah. Be good. Bye.
We would prefer to not have kids on the continuum of risk, if at all possible. But we recognize that's not possible because kids are kids, and there's many, many, many reasons why they choose to do different types of things. I started saying that, we wish, at least from the FDA's perspective, that kids were not entering into the continuum of harm, but once they're there, how do we care for them? And, our messaging is prevention based, and so we're trying. We certainly acknowledge that teens are teens and that they are experimenters. If we get asked a specific question by a teen, either a direct message to us or via social media about the relative harms of vaping versus cigarettes, we try to be as clear as possible that if your comparator is a cigarette, vaping is less harmful. But vaping alone, especially if you've never been a cigarette user, vaping alone is not benign. And so we try to give them that frame of reference. And what I would say is kids are incredibly smart. I'm sure both of these gentlemen, I'm sure, see that. And they have a craft detector a mile wide. Like if we were to message proactively to teens that vaping is not as harmful as smoking, there are people on both sides of that argument, right? One is you could just give them the facts and let them make the decisions. The other side of the argument is then you're getting rid of all the protective factors and you're kind of giving them license to use. And so, we have not tried to tackle that directly in any of our proactive messaging. But when we get questions specifically in social or direct message, that's when we have that one-on-one dialogue.
Right.